Jordan, there's still 35 seconds left. And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. It is Tuesday, May 31st. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by the boss man, Alex Baker. We are brought to you by Odds Shopper. Now, before we get started, I need everybody to hit the like button, and I need you to do it in a more frequent manner than you did on the strategy show this morning. We need to get those numbers up. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Alex, how's it going, man? We haven't done one of these in a long time.
Good, man. I'm glad we didn't go live like a minute or two earlier because we probably would be getting into trouble right now. But it's
to be fair,
fun.
I think we're allowed to do whatever you want to do.
I don't know about that, but what I'm really excited about is now that like we've been wrapping up NBA a little bit, like I've been spending a lot more time like researching MLB to figure out the best strategies. I'm actually working on the strategy guide right now that we're going to put out soon that will have a lot of these strategies in them so that we can help you guys all get that GPP shipper that we're all gunning for every night.
Keep your eyes peeled for that one, everybody. That is going to be something you're going to want to check out. It's the end. It's hard to do anything during NBA season. It is a DFS sport that takes a whole bunch of work, and it doesn't really go away on a day-to-day basis for like 6 months. So you really have to have some dedicated. It's hard to work on ancillary projects. And now that we're down to at most 7 more NBA games, plenty of time to attack the rest of the sports, which is what we're going to do right now. We're going to attack a 13-game MLB slate that's looking like it's about to be a 12-game MLB slate, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Are you ready to get started?
So
Yankees and Angels. Yankees slight favorites in this one. Jordan Montgomery going for the Yanks. Noah Syndergaard going for the Angels. Montgomery pulling a little bit of ownership on DraftKings, a little bit less than that on FanDuel. Noah Syndergaard pulling none of it. Where do you stand on Montgomery, and do you see Syndergaard as viable given the low ownership?
Yeah, so Montgomery looks like he's pulling in some decent ownership, 12% on DraftKings in our most recent update. And it's a little bit of a surprise because like the Angels, obviously they are a pretty strong lineup, but like some of their better players are lefties with like Ohtani and Walsh. So Montgomery being a lefty is a little bit of advantage. The weather today, 86 degrees in New York, not going to do any favors for Montgomery.
No.
I'm a little bit surprised that his ownership is as high as it is, to be honest, because at 8K, it's not looking like he's a great value. Only a 20% strikeout rate this year so far, which that's not going to impress anyone. So I'm not seeing like exactly why people are going in on him, although maybe it's just a weak pitching slate. What are you seeing?
I think, like roughly 10 to 15% makes some sense here. I think the strikeout matchup is pretty solid against the Angels. We got a couple guys at the top. I mean, Ward, decent strikeout matchup. Ohtani does tend to K quite a bit. Trout's neutral, and the bottom of the order, like Max Stassi, pretty big strikeout guy. So I guess I see some of the appeal if you think that Montgomery's stuff can get back to, a little bit more like normal. Like to me, like he's kind of just a guy. There's probably like 5 or 6 guys that I think are all perfectly reasonable at, 10% ownership. So I don't really have too much to add to Montgomery. I think he's essentially properly owned in this spot. Syndergaard, on the other hand, not something that I'm super interested in. Are you?
No, only 17% strikeout rate. So he's really lost his magic. I mean, he barely played last year and he didn't play the year before that. So far from the star player he was when he was on the Mets a while back. So in a tough matchup, Syndergaard is off the board for me.
That's sort of what I was expecting. We can take a look at the bats now, where on the Yankee side against Syndergaard, not really pulling any ownership. Aaron Judge is the only guy that is pulling anything. He's around 10. Everybody else is basically at 2. On the Angel side of this one, no ownership coming in at all. I don't have like a very interesting stand on either one of these teams. I actually prefer slightly the Angels to the Yankees, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not all that enamored with either one of them. I don't think either team lands in my top 10. Are you seeing anything different here? Clearly, from a one-off bat perspective, there's a lot of talent.
Definitely a ton of talent. The weather is a nice factor as well. As far as Syndergaard, like in the matchup against him, he actually hasn't been bad as far as xFIP this year, 3.9 above average. So, like, although he's not getting strikeouts, he's not performing that poorly. The weather at 86 degrees is pretty favorable for the bats, though, and the ownership's pretty low. The only thing I can think of is just there's a lot of strong teams on this slate, but the Yankees, I think they're definitely worth taking a few stabs on, although there are some more favorable spots today.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of one-offing, an Anthony Rizzo or a Matt Carpenter on a day like today, just because you're getting that lefty-righty matchup. Lefty power plays up in New York. They're getting no ownership whatsoever. So if that's the last guy that you're putting into a lineup, I don't think it's crazy to try to buy a home run, an unowned home run from the Yankees.
Definitely, yeah. The prices are a little bit high on some of these guys, and it's a home team that on a big slate is a little bit of a knock against them. But
Sure.
It looks like on the other side, the Angels, like even though their team total is 0.4 runs lower, they have about the same chance of being one of the top stacks today as the Yankees. So. Yeah. That's kind of one of the advantages of our tools. We can factor in some of these other data points, and it looks like the ownership on the Angels is a decent amount lower than the Yankees. So I kind of like that as a play tonight.
Perfect. Anything else you want to touch on here for Yankees and Angels?
No, not really.
Perfect. We will move it on to the Orioles and the Mariners. Curious to get your thoughts here because I'm interested in one part of this game. We've got Brian Baker going for the Orioles. We got that news during the strategy show earlier today. Doesn't appear to be the type of guy that's going to be going deep into this one, but does have the 4K price tag on DraftKings. George Kirby going for the Mariners, pulling about 10% ownership, looking similar, at least from an ownership perspective, to Jordan Montgomery. Are you paying down for Baker in this spot? I didn't even think about it. Are you paying for your cousin Brian Baker here, or are you interested more in George Kirby?
Well, Baker, it looks like he is potentially an opener. He only threw 31 pitches in his last start, so that is definitely alarming as far as playing him. So that would be a no for me. And then Kirby, on the other hand, does look like a strong play. He's gone up to 90 pitches. His strikeout rate has been pretty solid at 23% so far. So, okay, so the matchup versus Baltimore, they're definitely one of the up-and-coming teams, I guess is a nice way to put it, in the MLB. So
sure,
I think Kirby is a very solid play, and it seems like the ownership he's drawing is on the low side compared to what we're expecting. So what are you seeing here with Kirby versus the Orioles?
If we're talking about like sub 7K guys, if you're trying to get any sort of value on DraftKings, I think he's the best one of the guys that are going to play. Like I like German Marquez at 6,300. I tend to be a little bit more interested in Coors pitching than the public tends to be. But I think Marquez is going to go away. And at that point, Kirby is the guy that I have projected best as a value option. I'm certainly going to get there. Given that ownership, or given his current ownership, I think, being somewhere around the field to slightly north of the field seems easy enough. And there are quite a few guys in the 9s that stand out. And I think he pairs pretty well there, which should allow you to get to any stack you really want to from a priority standpoint. My next question has nothing to do with this slate in particular. I'm just curious where you land here. So we know that Baltimore's park has had some changes heading into this year. We're going from a very, very extreme home run hitting environment to what we all sort of assume is like not the case any longer. How quick are you to make sort of park adjustments when we really just don't have a ton of data? Is that just sort of like I'm just going to pick a park factor right now until it starts to stabilize? Do you have to just do this manually?
So I think that it depends what you're trying to accomplish. If you're like betting home runs or something, then like the par factor is going to be like huge. If you're playing DFS, like a pretty good metric is just kind of what Vegas is throwing out there. as far as like the sports betting over-unders, the money lines, and etc. And the money or the over-under in this game is pretty decent. It's at 8.7, and the temperature is like really high in this game at 90 degrees. So that is indicating that the sports books, given that these pitchers aren't anything too exciting, are kind of accounting for the fact that Baltimore is no longer kind of the hitter's park that we're used to.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have to make any adjustments on top of what we already have on the tools, but
Sure.
it does look like if you're used to Camden Yards being kind of a hitter's park, then that may not be true to that same extent.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about it, just talking it through over the past 2 days, doing some shows again. That's just one of those things that stand out where there's no way, like you obviously can't go into it in day one thinking they are going to just hit the same amount of home runs that they normally do. Like we know by making the change that it had to have some impact. It's just how long it takes to get that data was just interesting to me. We need to talk a little bit about bats in this one, and this is my favorite thing to talk about right now. Talk to me about Baltimore, and I'm going to lead you with this. I like them a lot, and they are popping up a lot for me. I think it's a power thing. In the aggregate, I've got this team with a 189 ISO. A lot of what I'm looking at just comes straight out of Fangraphs, but we're a little bit lighter. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of bit in the top stacks tool. So I don't think you see what I see. I want to know why I'm wrong.
Well, I think if we're just looking at the numbers this year, I'm still kind of getting all my stats organized. So
Sure.
I apologize if I get anything wrong here, but let's see. Okay, the power of this team this year has just not been that great. It looks like only Santander, Odor, and Mullins in this lineup are good power guys. So
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a ton. Like the matchup versus George Kirby, like he is a rookie. He jumped from AA to MLB, which is pretty unproven. But so far this year, like I think the metrics in AA were like really strong, where he had a 34% strikeout rate this year, 25% last year, xFIP in the threes, and that continued to his 4 starts in the major leagues. So indications are he might be a pretty decent pitcher. So
Yeah.
I don't think Baltimore is off the table, but
Okay.
I'm not seeing a ton drawing me to them.
Okay. The large driver for me is more of a leverage play. They're pulling no ownership whatsoever. So getting above a aggregate 1.5% owned team seems pretty easy to me right now. And I sort of just want to take that kind of shot at someone like Kirby, who should have at least a little bit of growing pains, or potentially have a little bit of growing pains. What are you seeing on the opposite side though for Seattle?
Seattle on the opposite side looks like a pretty strong play, like team total of 5. That's generally the metric I'm looking for a team that has a lot of offensive potential. And I want to talk about the team totals really briefly because I know we were having some internal like discussion. I just want to explain to everyone, like you might look at this top stacks tool and be like, oh, I'm not seeing this team total on other sites. And like what we did to come up with our team totals is we went through like all the historical data, like the Vegas lines, like over under money line, all that to come up with these numbers. So it is like really well researched. Like I think that when you're looking at like an 8.5 over under in Vegas, like you have to understand that the mean number of runs scored is like significantly higher than that. In fact, in this game, it looks like Baltimore versus Seattle, we have 5 plus 4.3, so 9.3 compared to like what we have is 8.7 over under. So it's kind of what we're coming up with these numbers. I think they're really good. So when you got a road team with a 5 over under, that is that kind of zone where they're in a really good spot. And it looks like the ownership of Seattle isn't like quite up to that level. It's only 4%. So I think this is Seattle like in a nice matchup. That's a team that's definitely worth taking some shots on.
No crazy ownership coming in here either. Last run that I pulled from our ownership, Jesse Winker was the highest owned Mariner, and that was technically speaking sub 10%. So you're not really battling with any sort of wild chalk. Not that there's a ton of wild chalk on what's looking like a 12-game slate anyway, but shouldn't have any problem getting to a Mariner stack from an ownership perspective, at least.
I thought you're teasing this one game that may or may not happen.
I have to. I got to keep people ready. You know, you want to teasers for the future.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you want to touch on anything else for the Orioles and Mariners?
No, it just seems like Kirby and the Orioles stack or the Mariners stack look like really strong plays tonight.
Bingo. Blue Jays and White Sox are up next. Kevin Gausman going for the Blue Jays, Lucas Giolito going for the White Sox. Now we actually have some big ownership to talk about. Gausman's over 40% on DK, a little over 20% on FanDuel. To me, pretty clearly looks like one of the best options. Did come out as my best personal pitching option. I'm guessing you at least understand why the ownership is coming. How much do you like him, though?
Yeah, he looks like a killer play. I mean, you got a matchup versus the White Sox. I think they're a pretty decent team, but like the lineup they're rolling out today is just not as much talent as we're used to from these White Sox. The combined power rating of this team so far, the ISO, is only 12% this year, which just shows that they are not hitting well. And Gausman, on the other hand, has been having a fantastic season, a 2.4 xFIP so far this year. He has a 29% strikeout rate. And then also Rogers Park, the Blue Jays, they have pretty good conditions tonight with only 75 degrees. This is they're one of those like indoor parks that they have open air. I can't remember. Anyway,
I'm almost positive they do, but yeah. It's been so long that I've had to like unearth MLB knowledge in my brain that could just be like a faulty file.
Yeah, I'm like really showing that I haven't been keeping up because Rogers Center. But yeah, it's open air unless it's rainy. So as far as the weather conditions, this one, it doesn't have that same temperature we've been seeing in games up to this point, only 75 degrees. So that is favorable to Gausman as well. So like all the factors are working in his favor tonight.
Do you have any interest on the opposite side for Lucas Giolito? We know that he has some high-end stuff at the very least, not the best strikeout matchup that I'm seeing against the Blue Jays, but he's only 4.5% owned. Do you see him as like sort of a pay up to be contrarian option?
A little bit. Like I don't think that paying up to be contrarian a pitcher is as good as paying up to be contrarian with bats in MLB. Sure. 10.2K on DraftKings and 10K on FanDuel does limit your stacks significantly. So you're really going all in that Giolito is going to have a big day.
Yeah.
And like the weather is good, but the matchup versus Toronto, not the most favorable. They have a really strong lineup that doesn't strike out much. So I think that the ownership is low on Giolito for a reason.
Okay. Do you have any interest at all in getting to the White Sox? I assume because of Gausman's ownership.
The White Sox, they are looking like decent values, but my general approach to getting leverage on high-owned pitchers in MLB is just to not play the pitcher and not sack the other team.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that you get that correlation against Gausman, but on a 13-game slate, that's not going to mean nearly as much.
We're on the exact same page there. So I guess what we need to talk about then are Blue Jays bats, and these guys aren't pulling a ton of ownership. Do you have interest in targeting Lucas Giolito here? Highest owned guy from the Jays on DK is 8% owned, Bichette. You've got Vlad at 5%. The rest of these guys should be relatively easy to get to. I don't think anybody is prohibitively expensive. I mean, you can make a case that some of these guys should be more expensive. Do you have interest in Toronto?
Not a ton. Like it's a home team. The team total is under 5. That equates to a 3% chance to be in the top scoring team tonight, and they're about 3% owned. So I'm not seeing a ton of metrics that are really drawing me to Toronto. That being said, I mean, they got some killer talent on this team, especially top of the order. So yeah. Don't blame anyone for going to them, but it just seems like not the easiest way to get an advantage tonight.
All righty. Any other bats that we need to talk about in this one?
No, I don't think so.
Well, then we definitely need to talk about the schedule for the rest of today. And this one's pretty easy. MLB Live Before Lock is coming up next. I don't have that time written properly in the run sheet, but nobody needs to know that. Said it out loud anyway. They're coming up right after this. So stay on this stream. You don't have to go anywhere. Plus, if you're playing MLB DFS today, and I assume if you're watching this, you probably are, MLB player projections are free. That should help you out tremendously. Head to awesemo.com to check those out, or I assume we can get a link dropped into chat. If you're interested in PGA, our PGA ownership projections are also free for today. On to Red Sox and Reds. We've got Michael Wacha going for the Red Sox. We've got Luis Castillo going for the Reds. No real ownership coming into either of these guys. I've got a little bit of interest in Luis Castillo at basically no ownership. It's sort of like if you wanted to play Giolito and get like a slightly lesser version of him at a better price, you can do that. Not a great matchup against the Red Sox, at least on paper. Do you get to any Castillo here?
Well, I think that Castillo, another guy that doesn't quite have the same stuff as he once did, only 21% K rate this year. So then you're kind of looking at the matchup in the park, and Boston. Fenway is just a hitter's park because of the Green Monster. The one positive is it is only 58 degrees in Boston tonight, which is extraordinarily low. But I don't know if that's enough to really get me on Castillo. How about yourself?
He actually showed up a little bit. So I see him similarly to Jordan Montgomery today. Like, I'd be happy to have about 10% given current ownership. And the fact that Castillo is pulling none of it and Montgomery is getting a little bit of love, I think it's slightly easier to get there. It is a higher runs park, great for negating a bit of lefty power, which Castillo should have at least a little bit of trouble with. They've got Devers, Verdugo, Cordero, and Jackie Bradley going as lefty bats today. So I think it kind of lines up okay for Castillo at this low ownership number. I think he's worth the lottery ticket today at 8,400. Not a guy that I would like to overly prioritize because given his ownership, I don't think that that's super necessary, but he is the type of guy that I would want to take a shot on at the current price tag.
Nice.
From a bats perspective in this one, not much going on either side here. Red Sox highest owned guy is Devers at 9%. After that, you're in the twos. On the Red side, basically nothing coming in. Just in case you didn't hear it, Tommy Pham was scratched a little bit ago, so go ahead and get him out. He wasn't scratched by Jock Peterson. He was removed from the lineup, a very different thing. Do you have interest in either one of these teams from a stacking perspective? Because right now you can get basically whatever you want, and you're not going to be fighting with a lot of other people for it.
I think Fenway is I think it's a nice hitter's park. And the ownership on this game is just incredibly low. Probably just because the price tags are high, given it's Fenway and the temperature is only 60 degrees. Pitchers, I'd say, somewhat of a neutral factor tonight. But what I'm seeing is Cincinnati's only at 1% ownership in our top stacks. So that is one of the higher leverage spots today.
Yeah.
And I think whenever you got a team with 1%, that makes the path to getting first for 100K a lot easier. So not something I'm shying away from, I would say. Although I don't know if it's the top spot. I think given what we were talking about with Seattle, they might be a little bit higher on the list. But what are you seeing with Cincinnati?
Happy to get there. Michael Wacha, not exactly somebody that I'm like super nervous about. Probably like a average-ish pitcher, but not really from a stuff perspective. Just sort of gets by on guile at this point. So I don't have any issue trying to go at Wacha, particularly in Boston. You know, big park factor from a runs perspective. There are certainly power bats in the Reds lineup. Whether doesn't really matter what you want to go to at the top of the order, that's for sure. Or you get someone like Moustakas at the bottom, who's basically unowned. Certainly some power there. Probably a lot of strikeouts too. Not that you're worried about that from a DFS perspective. So I think there's upside in Cincinnati, given their current ownership. Certainly looks like a team that could go off for a GPP play.
Definitely, yeah. I think if you're looking for like a flyer, then that has a lot of potential, then Cincinnati is pretty high on that list.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add from the Red Sox side before we bump it on over to Tigers Twins?
Nothing from the Red Sox, but I'll give a shout out to Tom in chat for calling me the Forrest Gump of DFS. Like, I don't know what that means, but that's pretty creative.
I think it's good, right? I mean, think about all, like,
Yeah.
He kind of killed it at life.
I mean, yeah, like I was especially impressed by the table tennis
That's where I was about to go with that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you could relate to the table tennis part. I don't know if you've ever started a shrimp conglomerate or anything like that, but there's always time after this. What else can you do? I can play college football, I guess. What else? Probably trying to avoid the military, I'm guessing.
Meeting JFK might be off the table at this point.
I think you might struggle there, but who knows? With the way metaverse type stuff is going on, you might be able to go hang out with him shortly. Maybe you can get an NFT or something. Tigers and Twins. Joey Wentz and Cole Sands, whoever the hell those two people are, neither one of them pulling any real ownership. Is this a pitching spot for you? Because it does not look like that to me.
Nah. I mean, like, anytime you got a guy facing the Tigers, like, I hate to say it because it's my team, but you gotta have take a decent look at them. However, Cole Sands, sorry.
It doesn't matter. Nobody knows anyway.
It might as well be Cole Smith. But actually, his strikeout rate last year in AA was 28%. It's been pretty good at Ks so far this year. The one thing is just like how deep in the game he's going to go, which it looks like there's some cause for concern there. He's started 5 games in AAA and played in 6. He's only faced 81 batters, so that's only like 14 batters per game. So just doing some mental math here, it just doesn't seem like he's going to go very deep in the game. What do you think?
No, I don't think he's going all that deep. I mean, I gave him 4 innings, which may be even mildly aggressive. That still doesn't make him all that appealing for me. Not somebody that's showing up all that frequently. So not a day for pitching here. Does appear to be a day for bats. Lots of ownership coming in to the Twins, trying to attack Joey Wentz, who has a 5.54 FIP projected via Steamer. That's not great. Do you agree with the ownership for the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah, it's high, huh? So it's easy to look at and be like, this is not looking like a pretty smart team to stack. So let's look at the metrics here. 5 team total, 6 top stack, 7% top value, like pretty solid metrics. And I think it's a decent stack. You got some decent values in this lineup too, so I don't hate it, but it looks like you might be able to fade some ownership and get a lineup that's like almost as good with some other teams.
They are currently our largest negative leverage stack on DraftKings, so do with that what you will. Negative leverage doesn't necessarily have to mean I can't play this team. We want to put that out there right now. They're still good. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in the top stack tool. So I have no complaints about them overall. They just might be a hair over owned. So be aware of what you're putting with the Twins in that stack. Maybe find a couple lower owned pieces elsewhere. On the Tigers side, not very highly ranked in the top stack tool. The highest top value odds, though, because only 2 guys are priced north of 3K. How do you feel about your Tigers against Cole Sands?
I think they're definitely intriguing, but just because they're so cheap, like a lot of guys in the 2Ks and Cole Sands, like we don't have any reason to believe that he's very good. Temperature in Detroit is 90 degrees nearly, so the conditions are pretty favorable for the Tigers, but it looks like even that's not really adding up to much as far as what Las Vegas is expecting with a team total of 4.2. So it looks like they're a killer value, but it looks like too many people are going to them just because they're kind of a play that's going to show up in optimizers because they are so cheap. Do you have any Tigers?
No, they don't grade out all that well for me. I mean, but they're grading out basically the same as our current top stack odds, and that doesn't appeal to me all that much when people are already getting there. People are curious if I am either Bubba or Lieutenant Dan in this scenario. I think that makes me Bubba, which I'm totally cool with. Not too many other. I guess I'm happy to be JFK in this scenario as well, if we're just able to pick anybody from the movie. And then I don't want to read this, but we got a super chat, and I don't appreciate it at all, my filler arc. I really don't. Liverpool lost the quadruple faster than Vince McMahon at the Royal Rumble, which is a reference that I get, and I'm assuming most people won't. He said he doesn't care about baseball. He just wanted to give us a super chat to rub my Liverpool loss in my face. The fact that you're thinking that City's going to win a quadruple when Pep Guardiola has never won a Champions League is a bold stance to take there. But hey, maybe you could buy it with all of the oil money that you get for owning Man City, because they are a criminal enterprise. I hate them so much. And Saturday sucked so much. So on that note, let's talk about things that don't make me sad. Mets and Nats. Mets are massive favorites in this one. Trevor Williams going for New York, Pat Corbin going for the Nats. It has been quite the fall from grace for Corbin. He is not owned. Trevor Williams is not owned. Neither one of these guys are expensive. Trevor Williams, not exactly a strikeout monster. Are you getting any pitching here?
Well, the Mets are favored by so much that I feel like some people are going to look at Trevor Williams and be interested. They're a minus 210 favorite. But I think that shows us how bad money lines are for trying to pick pitchers, because what I'm seeing here is he has a 22% K rate, but the Mets lineup tonight is suppressing strikeouts a ton. They're at 18% average when the league average is 22.5%. So it's just a low strikeout matchup for a low strikeout pitcher, and the weather conditions are pretty bad here at 85 degrees. So even though they are such a big favorite tonight, it's not looking great.
What are you seeing from a bats perspective? We're getting a little bit of love coming into the Nats. We're getting a little bit more love coming into the Mets. Mets right now, pretty negative leveraged in our top stacks tool. They have the third biggest negative leverage number, but they are fifth in the top stack odds. I actually like the Mets even slightly more than that, although they could just as easily be fourth here. We're talking about rounding differences. I like the Mets a lot. It just so happens that so does the public. Are you still going to get to them? They're interesting in that they've got a couple guys in the 2K range and then the 3K range, but then you also have to pay up for guys like Lindor or Pete Alonso. Are you worried about the ownership here?
Yeah, I think that the ownership is concerning just because of how high it is. It looks like they're the second highest owned stack. There aren't. It is kind of a product of what you're saying with the individual batters being so cheap, like Mark Canha and Juan being 3K on DraftKings, 3K on FanDuel, JD Davis in the 2Ks on both sites, batting fifth. So the lineup is setting up really favorably for stacking it up. So I can see why people are getting here. But this might be an instance where just you could pay up and get the other guys and fade those really chalky values on the Mets that the team ownership, if you fade Davis and Canha, is going to be a lot lower for your stack. So that it does get a little bit more complicated when you look at the individual batters. So I think there's definitely if you're going to stack up Canha and Davis and have killer projection, then you're going to have to get contrarian with the rest of your lineup. If you're getting Jeff McNeil at 2% ownership, batting six, then you can have a pretty contrarian lineup.
Where do you land on Washington, who look to be in sort of the bottom third, or at the top of the bottom third, I guess, in our top stack tool right now? But maybe to me going a little bit underrepresented. Juan Soto at 11% is sort of driving a lot of their ownership. The next highest guy here is Ruiz at 6%. So do the Nats become slightly more interesting to you here? Or is it just, Trevor Williams sort of isn't that guy to target and the Nats just sort of exist?
Yeah. mean, Trevor Williams, it's weird because I feel like when he was on the Pirates, like it was just completely like neutral whether he's pitching or not. But so far this year, he's been pretty solid, like a 3.3 xFIP. His career average is 4.6. So it looks like he's really stepped up his game this year so far. Now it is only 8 games in, so not really taking that to the bank, but still he's having a pretty good year.
All right. And then I don't think that I have anything else here for the rest of Mets Nats. I think we can move it on to Cardinals and Padres. It's Adam Wainwright going for the Cards, Blake Snell for the Pods. Wainwright, the guy that's pulling ownership around 13% right now. Blake Snell only at 4. We know the pedigree of Snell from a strikeout perspective. He's basically the inverse of Adam Wainwright at this point, but Wainwright is the guy getting the love. Are you seeing anything here from a pitching perspective?
Well, the conditions in this one aren't great for pitchers, 81 degrees in St. Louis. So it is like the strength of the pitchers, I guess, that is keeping the total down in this one. Although looks like Snell has been having a little bit of a rough start, but Wainwright, he's had a pretty interesting like revival this year, but the price is quite high at 8,700 on DraftKings, at 8,800 on FanDuel. Not really a high strikeout pitcher, so I'm not really seeing much reason to go to him.
I feel the same way. I'd be more interested in just taking the full wild card of Blake Snell. He's basically in that same sort of Luis Castillo mold where this guy every once in a while is just going to mow down a ton of dudes. I just don't know if today is supposed to be that day, but not a lot of righty power as a park factor for St. Louis. So I think that plays at least a little bit better for Blake Snell, but not somebody that I'm trying to get to a lot here. From a hitting perspective, neither one of these teams is pulling any sort of love. We had Eric Lindquist on with me on the strategy show earlier today. Big fan of the Cardinals, so I have to ask, break the tie. I didn't see it. Where do you land on St. Louis?
Well, trying to update my spreadsheet as I'm going along here. All right, so the Cardinals, they're facing Snell. That's although he's given up a 6 ERA this year, I guess it's only over 2 starts, so like that's really not any sample that we can bank on, and his strikeouts have been really strong again this year, so I think like that's a negative. The prices, it's kind of like the Mets that we're talking about, where like Pujols is batting cleanup and he's 2,700, which is crazy. So you can get some really good values, some studs like Goldschmidt. So I guess you can't. They both first base only, but yeah, I think that makes it a little bit tougher to stack up. But still, a stack that we should be considering.
Okay. Anything for the Padres? Clearly a couple bats, your Machados and Luke Voits of the world certainly like their big potential to hit a home run.
Definitely. Yeah. I think the ownership is really low on the Padres at about 1.5%. And it's not that surprising because they're on the bottom half of our stacks list. They're an away team, which is a positive for stacking just because you get that extra inning if they're cruising. And the team total is above 4, so that's kind of the threshold where I consider them. The main thing I'm looking at here is just no one is on the Padres tonight. So as far as teams that could come out of nowhere and have a huge night, the Padres seem like they might be one of the more likely ones.
If you want access to everything that we have at Awesemo.com, boy, are you in luck. MLBDD is the promo code. Get yourself 50% off an Awesemo Plus Platinum Pass for a month. If you are a new subscriber, gives you everything: projections, ownership, lineup builder, Discord, top stacks, top pitchers, top golfers, top fighters. I'm probably missing a ton of stuff. We have, this will give you literally everything except for Fantasy Cruncher, which is a paid add-on, which you can very easily add at checkout. And it's not just baseball either. I know the code is for the MLB Deeper Dive. Don't get confused here. This is access to every single sport that we have for the month. So if you are new to Awesemo.com, make sure you're signing up using that promo code. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic deal to get yourself started. Rangers and Rays, basically a coin flip game. Martine Perez going for Texas, Ryan Yarbrough going for Tampa. Neither one of these guys pulling much ownership, and they didn't pull it for me either. So do you see something different?
Nothing too much I'm seeing here. Like the over under is only 8. So not expecting much offense, and it's a flip basically. So I'd say that this one isn't looking great for bats. As far as pitchers, like I'm also not seeing a ton of value. So I remember back in the day, we used to call these games the Manny special.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to say that anymore, man.
I keep saying stuff today that is like not allowed to say anymore. But I think this I'm not really seeing much in this game as a whole. Which are you seeing any plays?
I'm not really. They don't grade out well for me, pitching or hitting. I look at our top stacks tool. Tampa gets to like the midway point, basically. Texas nowhere near it. We might need to find a new name here, but it's definitely not playable.
But we need a new name pronto, or else someone get in trouble.
Again, you can make these rules, so if you want to keep it going, this one's on you. I'm going to put that one. I'm going to put that one on ice for now. But we can definitely skip the rest of this one. It is. I don't know. It's weird because I don't want to change it to somebody else and have that be like, oh, well, we used to call it this, and now we're going to call it this. We should compare those two. So yeah, we can't. Don't think that we could use that one anymore. Slightly frowned upon.
Yeah, I'm rusty.
We can call it the Rusty special, I guess. That'll keep it in the DFS space if you want to. Nice. Cubs and Brewers. I like that. Justin Steele going for the Cubs. Eric Lauer going for the Brewers. No ownership again coming to these pitchers. This seems to be a theme. It's a lot of games where it's like, oh, maybe this guy's 8% owned at most. We have a couple guys that are pulling a ton of ownership that we are going to talk about, but I guess Lauer would be the guy. I don't see Steele as the guy. Are you getting to Lauer?
Dude, we have some breaking news. Unfortunately, the teaser, we're not going to get to it because Colorado got postponed already. So
it's the next game too, man.
Damn it. They totally saw Thunder because we were all about like this game's going to get postponed. It's like supposed to rain from like 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. So yeah. But now that game's off the slate, maybe we'll be able to make our time limit here. So that's the one positive.
Quite the benefit as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to go ahead and rerun some stuff as we talk. But the piece we need to talk about now, most important part we've got here, is the Milwaukee Brewers. They are pulling quite a bit of ownership. They are currently our highest owned team in the aggregate. Not even all that close, honestly. They are the number 2 stack in our top stack tool, but they are the second biggest negative leverage option. For reasons that I can't totally tell, don't have the Brewers grading out well. I can't really figure it out. It's something that I'm going to have to like dig into a little bit further. It's one of those things where I'm going to save this version of my workbook to make sure that I could look at it tomorrow, even after I like reset everything, because in theory, to me, they should rank a lot higher than they do. And I don't understand why, like they don't show up for me for anything that I'm doing. I can't wrap my head around it. Talk to me about the Brewers because I'm clearly not correct.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think everyone in chat like probably is remembering going hard on the Brewers yesterday and it just completely fizzling, unless you had Aaron Ashby who had a killer game. But yeah, like it was supposed to be this Wrigley win game, and the over under was 11, and there were only 4 runs. So I think people at this point today are probably like, Wrigley win game, yeah, right. But But like sometimes you watch games in Wrigley Field and the dude hits a pop up and it goes for a homer. So like that's baseball. It's crazy, like the variance from day to day. So I think that we gotta consider both of these teams because the over under in this game is pretty high. Now Milwaukee is extremely popular today, but usually if a team is really popular, it's for a good reason. And they're cheap. They have a really high team total. So with Colorado off the slate, it looks like they're tied with the Dodgers as the highest team total, and the average salary on this team is like in the 3Ks. So I don't know what the DraftKings and FanDuel like people who made the salaries today are thinking, but this is just one that's way too low.
So where do you land then on the Cubs? We have them basically in the middle of the pack here in the top stack tool. I like the Cubs more than we're showing. So I feel like they are undervalued. To me, the Brewers are slightly overvalued. Now, the overvaluing of the Brewers is like slightly correct, at least from an ownership perspective. I think the Cubs are getting slept on a little bit here. Do you see the same thing here? Do you want to try to target Eric Lauer?
Yeah, I think Lauer is a fine play. Like we saw that it might be windy, but that doesn't necessarily negate strikeouts. And he has a 30% K rate so far this year. The Cubs are a decent team for getting Ks. So, but the price is extremely high. So not top of the board given the weather conditions here. I do think that the Cubs stack is looking pretty appealing. I mean, you got guys that have a lot of power, like Patrick Wisdom, who he's oh shoot, this stuff's not lining up here for me. Anyway,
what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
I'm like looking at the lineup on my. I like have this cheat sheet that I do for content, and I haven't updated it. It's like Patrick Wisdom is like batting 5th on one part of the cheat sheet and batting 3rd on the other. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? But
we'll get back into the rhythm eventually.
Regardless, this is a guy that he strikes out a ton and he hits a ton of homers. So like you got guys like that just have a ton of upside. So I don't mind in a Wrigley Field game that has a lot of offensive potential, taking some shots on them.
All righty. I'm happy that that's where we land, because the Cubs seem to be a team that I would be getting to a little bit more than the public. This would have been the time where I was introducing the Colorado Rockies game. But as you have heard, that one has been lopped off of this slate. So we are now down to a 12 gamer, which I had been hinting at for the past 45 minutes. So now you get exactly what my hints were going to be. What you should also get, though, is get the urge to do some sports betting using OddsShopper. I am, as I mentioned yesterday on this show, incredibly jealous that I don't get to use this to my sports betting benefit just yet. Fingers crossed, state of North Carolina. Get off your hands and get some additional sports betting revenue. Wouldn't be mad about giving it to you guys. This is the easiest way to do anything if you're in a state where you're able. You should be using it anyway just as a reference tool, but if you're in a state where you're able to bet legally on sports, this is the best tool in the industry. We've got everything at your fingertips. You don't have to do any real work. I click on MLB bets. I immediately see right out of the get, Eugenio Suarez, total home runs, over a half, plus 600, expected ROI, 42%. It's the first thing you see at OddsShopper. Now, I will give the caveat. Make sure you're looking at this correctly. Make sure you're making sure that he's in there. There will be like a slight delay before we get any sort of updates in. But when I see that, I immediately think, all right, I'm going to go look at this Eugenio Suarez bet. Or if you want to go to over 3.5 strikeouts on someone like George Kirby, it's our second biggest XROI bet. We got him projected at 5.3. That's not even close to 3.5. Now there's some juice on that over, but still a fantastic option for you. And you can do this up and down the line. You can basically get to that bet in like 1 or 2 clicks. It's all here for you. And the best part of all of it, it is completely free. This costs you nothing. All you do is just get the benefit of having all of the information in front of you so that you can shop lines and get the best possible number on everything you're trying to do, which will unquestionably be the most important thing that you can do when you're betting. If you are leaving any sort of edge on the table by not shopping around, that is just hurting you. It's not hurting anybody else. It's just taking money out of your pocket. OddsShopper helps you change that completely by having everything right in front of you. Use the tool. You'll see me using it soon enough if we get sports betting before the NFL season starts. I legitimately cannot wait. I saw Levitan tweeted something out about there's like North Carolina's starting to look at it and trying to get it out before the NFL season. So now I'm hanging on to it for dear life.
That would be sick. I know a lot of states are they like shoot for a start of NFL to have everything going. So I wouldn't doubt it.
And we will be pushing that big time. Friend of the program, Blaine, wants to know why we're talking about baseball when Djokovic and Rafa are playing currently. To be fair, I agree. That is tennis poetry as far as I'm concerned. I would like to be watching it as well. Not that I don't want to do this show with you, boss, but we're talking about 2 of the, 4 greatest tennis players ever. I'd be very happy to watch that, particularly on the court that they're playing on right now.
I understand, man. I'm prepared to sit here and just talk to myself for the rest of the 10 minutes if you want.
Do you play tennis DFS?
I do once in a while, and Sean's done like a really great job of making a model. Like he sent me a screenshot of how much money he's won on tennis. I'm like, I didn't even know it's possible to win that much money playing tennis DFS. So I think like you guys should definitely try it, especially with the majors. They got some nice prize pools.
There you go. Yeah, I guess once you got that screenshot, you were like, well, I guess I should play a little bit more tennis.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, Sean, why are you sending this to me? Now I'm just gonna try to win all this money too.
Yeah, I would have been like, oh man, I'm getting dragged. You probably don't want to do it. Because clearly more competition is not better. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
All righty. 3 more games to go. Let's get through it. A's and Astros, Frankie Montas and Christian Javier. Now we finally got a game where pitching ownership is active on both sides. Montas is 20% owned on DK, 10% on FanDuel. Javier is 30% on DK, north of 20 on FanDuel. This is the first spot where we've got 2 pitchers that are very, very, I think clearly to me, guys that you need to be getting to if you're playing multiple lineups. Where do you land on Montas versus Javier? How are you feeling about them just in general? Over-owned, under-owned? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this park is going to be great for pitchers tonight. It's only 65 degrees in Oakland. So getting into these summer months, that Oakland becomes one of the better pitchers parks. And then I like Javier especially because Oakland's team, and I don't know what happened to the money ball. Like now it seems like they just get guys that don't contribute to winning at all. So do they have the lowest team total on today's slate? It looks like tied with Pittsburgh, so that shows how weak they are this year. They'll also have their good guys like Olsen and Chapman. So, but anyway,
I'm with you on that. There's not a lot of good going on here from an offense perspective.
As soon as I say that, I'm like, oh crap! Are they just not in the lineup tonight? But
Olsen's on the Braves, I reckon. So nice. I think you're good there.
Awesome. So yeah, the only problem is they don't strike out like an exorbitant amount. Like their team average today is 23%, just about the league average. So as far as K's, not gonna be a crazy chance for Javier to rack them up, but he has a 33% K rate this year so far. Price tag is reasonable, especially on FanDuel at 8,700. So I think he's great. Now the matchup that Montas has, like he's a great pitcher too, but Houston's just a much better team than Oakland. So I think that Montas looks like the ownership's half as much, and that seems pretty fair.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much else to add here. I think Montas should be a little bit behind just because facing the Astros isn't exactly a treat as a night's work. Javier, much better matchup for him. Great park as well. So these guys should be owned, and I basically completely agree with it. Javier might be a little higher than I would like, but he does get the benefit of, a more likely chance of picking up a win at least. These are 2 of my worst teams from an offense perspective. Do you have any pitch for A's or Astros? Clearly, individual Astros bats will look decent because they are loaded.
Yeah, I mean, the projections on these guys, like even though they are good players, are really low. Like
yes,
Bregman projected for 6.5 points tonight on DraftKings, 4,900. Like that is just like abysmal. So, yeah, I mean, that's the most egregious example, but still, it seems like night slate only for me.
I'm with you, and I have Bregman exactly at 6.5 as well. So nice. Great minds think alike. Let's get away from the abyss that is this game from a hitting perspective. We'll go to the Diamondbacks and my Atlanta Braves, the defending World Series champions. And boy, am I going to beat that one into the ground for the next couple months. Humberto Castellanos going for Arizona. Charlie Morton going for Atlanta. Castellanos getting no ownership whatsoever. Not all that surprising against Atlanta. Pretty big underdogs here. Morton coming in at 11% on DK, 11% on FanDuel. He's 9,200 on DraftKings. I'd love a slightly bigger discount, but I actually like Morton a little bit more than the public here. I'm wondering where you see Morton, or are you a Castellanos guy?
I mean, Morton, like, I know he was really great, like on the Rays, and then last year he had another good year. But the strikeout rate he has this year is only 20%, like down to 8% from last year, and it's over a good sample. Like this is a stat that does, like, this year's sample is like the best we have to go on at this point. So it just has lost that part of his game to some extent. And then if we're kind of assuming he's not a great strikeout pitcher, like at least the matchup versus the Diamondbacks will make up for that a little bit because they strike out more than average. But the temperature, I'm assuming with this 9.5 line that the roof is open tonight and it's 90 degrees. So
yeah, not ideal there.
Not great pitching conditions.
No, it is not. Is it great hitting conditions for you? I look at our top stack tool and it seems like it is. My Atlanta Braves grading out as our current top stack. And I don't disagree with that statement at all.
I mean, the Braves, like they're a killer team. They won the World Series last year and they have a matchup versus this guy, Humberto Castellanos, that he's a below average pitcher based on all the metrics. So
yep.
The weather is great. The matchup's great. The price is high, but reasonable. So I think that Atlanta is definitely one of the top teams to target tonight.
Yeah, I like it. Up and down the order. I'm happy to get here. Even guys like Adam Duvall, who, are going to K a ton. Huge power option in the 8 hole, no ownership whatsoever. So I think it's pretty easy to get to a relatively unique stack for the Braves. Only 4 guys are pulling, 10% or more from an ownership perspective. Everybody else is relatively, like Ozzie Albies is expensive at 5,300, but I don't mind this as a pay up to be contrarian option. If you want to get Albies, if you want to get Travis d'Arnaud, if you want to get to even like Marcelo Ozuna at 4,400, happy to go there. I love the Braves. Completely agree with the top stack tool today. Don't have a ton of interest in the Diamondbacks, but they are completely unowned. So if you're thinking Morton is a little bit more cooked, that might be something that's mildly appealing in the hot Arizona weather.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, I just refreshed and we got the top stacks update here. So nice. Everything should be good with this postponement, because I know whenever a Coors game gets postponed, that changes the slate drastically.
Atlanta very clearly now our top stack. Any Diamondbacks?
And the ownership for Atlanta is not even that bad. So
no.
They're definitely a team to go hard on tonight. Diamondbacks, like I think the weather is something that people are going to overlook, and the matchup is Morton. Like I don't think it's going to be popular, and they're one of the teams that I think you can take a flyer on.
All righty. Well, let's close it out. Special thanks to the Rockies for canceling that game so that we're basically going to hit our mark. 5.1 run implied total for the Dodgers, and Julio Urias taking on Mitch Keller and the Pirates. Urias pulling some ownership, 28% owned on DK, about 8% on FanDuel. I completely agree with the Dodgers ownership here. I'm not all that interested in the Pirates bats. They have, I believe, the lowest implied total on the slate. Urias, solid pitcher at the very least. I think he more than warrants his current I understand why he's getting his ownership. Maybe I should say it like that. Probably a little over-owned, but it makes sense that he is a guy getting ownership.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers pitchers are all pretty awesome. The one thing
everybody is they're just like, they have $600 million payroll. Everybody better be awesome.
That's true. They don't let the pitchers go as deep as some other teams, but the thing about Pittsburgh, like they have a weak offense. It's going to be 70 degrees tonight. Their K rate tonight is forecast to be like a little bit above league average. So this is a really nice spot for Urias. The negative is just he hasn't been getting strikeouts this year. So let's look at his stats so far. He's played in 9 games, only 18% strikeout rate, which is a shocker. But at this point, like, that's a pretty predictive sample. So that is definitely something scaring me off.
All righty. Dodgers bats, they are currently sitting in the 5 spot on our top stacks tool. They are basically neutral from a leverage perspective. It's not going to take much to pitch me on wanting to get to the Dodgers bats because it's basically an all-star team, but you're going to have to pay for it. Do you think they're worth their price tags today?
Probably not. worth quite their price tags because like they're top notch prices. The weather conditions aren't great. Like the matchup for Mitch Keller like about average, and the home team, which that is a factor that I'm considering in stacking. So I'd say they're like a good team to stack up, but not a top target for me.
Pirates are second from the bottom in the top stack tool, so I don't get the sense that I need to ask you about Pittsburgh today.
Nope, I think we can skip that one.
Well, what I do need to ask everybody to do is hit the like button. I haven't said it since the beginning. We're at 128. To me, not nearly enough. How often do you get myself and the boss man together on a show? That should be the perfect reward for you guys to just simply hit the thumbs up, and so that we can take credit for it instead of the live before lock crew, which is coming up next. Alex, do you have anything else you want to touch on for this slate before we head out?
Just guys, thanks for supporting the streams and the site, and good luck tonight.
There it is, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Check out Odds Shopper. Stay on this stream right now. You have to go nowhere. MLB Live Before Lock is up next, taking you all the way to what I assume is 7:05. Peace.
Those nylon string guitars, Jordan Klein. He's got the flair, baby. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the MLB Live Before Lock show, presented by, I have the wrong background. You know what? Great job, producer. Great job. Prize Picks, but also Odd Shopper is what we're talking. We're talking Odd Shopper. Fortunately, I do like myself some Prize Picks. I'm just doing a firm plan for my own VODs that I'm doing now. I didn't change my background the entire day because I've been sitting in this chair. Anyway, I'm Eric Lindquist. If I didn't say that already, I'm joined by Terry McBride, my dude over there. Excited to be breaking down an actual Live Before Lock for the second straight day. Baseball reigns supreme, at least till Thursday. And you know what? I'll still prefer to play that over a one-game NBA slate. But regardless, let's do it. Terry, how you doing, my dude?
Doing pretty good, bud. It's been a baseball packed day for me. Did a little Prize Picks video myself. That's up on the site. Knocked out a 5,000 word or so article on the site. Went way overboard with this big slate, and I think it's a really good one. I really like the pitching setup. It's really, really deep pitching slate relative to what we've had on a lot of these slates. So I'm psyched to get into it and break it down. I think you and I are on some of the same things, but I'm sure we'll find a few places to disagree as we go through.
No, I think we found a little common ground. I'd say Josh and I found some common ground in some spots. Let's go Cubbies. Let's find some other guys that we want to be rostering. But then there's spots like St. Louis that he and I did not agree on that I think you and I will be breaking down here as we go. We'll give you our reasons. We'll see if they match up with yours, but it's always going to be based in the Awesemo research. We have the best tools and content here in the entire industry. I shall talk about them throughout the show. The top pitchers tool, top stacks tool for baseball, joke how good they are. And free today for you, MLB player projections for you. That was a little Bane action. I heard it as I was saying it, but regardless, Jordan Klein producing
Bruce Springsteen's for you. Is that what you were doing there?
It'd be very painful for you. I don't know why. It just came to my mind, but people know by now that I have weird movie quote Tourette's. So here we go. Let's do it. Before we get started, anything major arcing you want to talk about about this slate as we get into it?
Like I said, a lot of pitching. I think there's some really good different spots you can get to with pitching where you're staying kind of at an ace caliber pitcher that has positive leverage. If you move to a guy like Lucas Giolito off of some of the negatively leveraged, similarly quality pitchers like a Kevin Gausman, for example. So there's a lot of really good spots to put some pitching ownership shares. I'm going to probably be getting a little bit spread out, probably be undercutting some of the big options on the mound while still getting to a lot of them. And then I think there's a couple really interesting pockets for bats. Like the field is kind of flocking to the same things where I think like the Cardinals, there are a couple really under-owned spots that I'm very interested in. So it looks on this side of lock like a solid tournament slate going in. It's one that I'm excited about. We'll see how it comes out by the time the night's over. But going in on this side, I think we're going to be in some different positions than the field, and that could be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm always dominant before the slate starts. I have the best lineups, no doubt about it, going into lock. It's variance that catches me on the back end of it, but let's try to run.
My hand-built placeholder every single day is the best lineup I've ever seen.
Dude, my placeholder is St. Louis today, so best of luck to us. I'm so excited. Atlanta, St. Louis, Chicago. Not to jump ahead to stacks or anything, but let's talk pitchers. That's what we're here to do to start off the show. And Kevin Gausman needs to be the talking point right out the gate. 9,700 on DK, 42.4% ownership, top two pitcher percentage. It's tops on the board at 23%. I find him to be unavoidable, but on FanDuel, where he's 10-2, garnering 22%, just a 9% top pitcher percentage. What do you plan to do, Mr. Blue Site Specialist?
I will have him. He's kind of the prime suspect in what I was just talking about, where I'm going to be undercutting some of the extremely popular pitchers who are pulling negative leverage. I really believe in Gausman at this point. I came into the season kind of as a big skeptic, and he's just been absolutely outrageously good. So against a depleted White Sox lineup, I'm happy to grab shares of them. I just don't want to ride with 20% of the field on it when there's a lot of other pitchers that I do like who are at better prices, in better matchups in some spots. There's a lot of variety on this slate. So I'll have a ton of Gausman, but I'll probably be more in the 12 to 15 range, just undercut slightly, draw a few percentage points that I can then spread out to some of the Charlie Mortons, Julio Urias's, Frankie Montas's, George Kirby certainly is of the day, Eric Lauers, a lot of different pitchers I want to get to. But Gausman, 29.3% strikeouts this year, a minuscule 2.3% walk rate, 2.39 xFIP, inducing a 17.4% swinging strike rate. And it's, again, a weak version of this White Sox lineup. They activated Luis Robert today, but he doesn't appear to be in the lineup, and they just lost Timmy Anderson to the IL. So it is just a downgraded Chicago lineup. So you can fire away with Gausman as much as you want. It's just a matter of playing that leverage and pricing and popularity game.
Yeah, it's kind of what I focused on this morning, was talking through how bad that lineup could turn out. It's really, really bad. Nothing changed. That White Sox lineup, top to bottom, you're avoiding Jose Abreu. That's like the one guy that I feel somewhat Andrew Vaughn I've always kind of liked, but not really today. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to try to go pick on Gausman even at this ownership. Sometimes you try to do that, but I just don't see a path to getting to a lot of White Sox here in my 150 and 20 max stuff. Definitely going to be avoiding that at all costs. But let's talk the rest of the board. You said variety is the name of the day, and variety is the spice of life, kind of like the creamy chipotle sauce at Taco Bell. That God, why do you keep bringing that up, Jordan Klein? I'm so hungry. It's so fire though. It's so fire. Oh my God.
I haven't had it.
I'm
going to have to check it out. I mean, I'm a Taco Bell fan. I'm not saying I'm far be it from me to disparage Taco Bell. I just haven't had this fantastic new sauce.
Have you seen the bar in New York that has the bar attached to the Taco Bell in the sports bar?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right around the corner from where my office used to be, that neighborhood we were just talking about earlier in Chat by Times Square, where people say like, oh my God, I wonder if the Ruby Tuesdays taste like it does at home. And then they go to Ruby Tuesdays instead of up to the best restaurants in the world. But yes, I have seen that. It opened after I worked in that neighborhood, so I never got to go there.
Is it Times Square? Because that's basically what you
Times
just
Square
described.
a couple blocks.
Times Square, yeah. Because Times Square, I was told,
I
real
was-
New Yorkers, you cannot find them there.
Yeah, no, my office was 40th and 7th. Times Square is essentially like 42nd and 7th to like 45th, somewhere on there. So I was right in the heart of it all. New Year's, I would bail out at 10 a.m. after getting to work at 9, and a lot of shitty days. St. Patty's Day was a mess over there. It was bad spot to have an office.
I feel like you on St. Patty's Day is probably a scary, scary proposition.
It has been in the past. St. Patty's is one of the forced fun type days that I will get up for. A lot of forced fun days I don't love. Like New Year's, I'm not a huge New Year's guy. I'll party and go have fun if there's something that like my friends are doing, but I won't go seeking it. But St. Patty's, yeah, you can get on board with that.
Yeah, I definitely can get on board with that. Shipping up to Boston, or in your case, New Jersey, either or. Yeah, we got some singing from Terry McBride. If you had Terry McBride singing before Eric Lindquist, cash your plus 100,000 ticket on today's show. Let's continue with the rest of the pitching options, though. Back on track, even though, for me, sometimes it's fun. I feel like I bring out the best of Terry McBride. I'm proud of such things. But the next tier of guys, we have to talk about Christian Javier on FanDuel. He's even somehow more popular than Kevin Gausman because you're getting that $1,500 savings. Still pretty popular for just 100 less than Kevin Gausman. He's got the extreme K percentage here on this slate, a lot higher than I was expecting to see out of Christian Javier this season, but definitely somebody that needs to be talked about specifically for FanDuel purposes. Then we'll get into the rest of the board. What do you think about him against this putrid Oakland lineup?
Yeah, it's a spectacular spot, right? We're talking about a athletics lineup that's essentially like a AAA ball club, if that at this point. 30th ranked, 113 ISO against righties, 1.85% home run rate is 29th out of 30 teams. They create runs 18% worse than average against righties. That's 28th. They strike out at a 23% clip, which in a vacuum, compared to years past, that sounds like fairly okay. That ranks 18th this year. A lot of teams not striking out that much against righties, but this team has been one of the worst ones in baseball. And like you mentioned, Javier, dynamite for strikeouts so far this season, both in the extended innings roll out of the pen and as a starter. 33.1% strikeout rate this year. Last year, it was 30.7% over 101 and a third in that hybrid role as a starter and out of the pen. He was dynamite in the playoffs. So this kid's kind of proven himself to me. I kind of believe that this is who this guy is. Maybe it comes down to 28%, something like that by the season's end, 30%, but he is a very strong pitcher. 3.31 xFIP, 13.6% swinging strike at 8,700. I get why he's so popular on FanDuel. I'll be close to the field. I'm usually not going over 20% on a slate this size on a pitcher, but given the matchup, given the talent, the strikeout upside and everything about it and the price, I think that's worth it. So 20-ish% probably sounds good to me. If I'm 15 to 18, I'm a little happier just because I can spread out more.
All right. Other expensive options on the board are Montas, Giolito, Urias. On FanDuel, you've got also Charlie Morton kind of sneaking up. I'll throw him into the mix because he's 7,700, garnering the third most attention on the slate, which is kind of surprising to me against Arizona. I believe the roof's open too. Problematic, but talk to me about this next tier of pitchers. Who are you landing on the most in the 9K range on DraftKings and on FanDuel? Anything from Morton up until Javier, that 7-8K range.
So yeah, in my crunches, I'm getting a good amount of Julio Urias and Charlie Morton both. They're both projecting pretty well for me. Morton a little bit less explicably, a little bit more inexplicably, I guess I should say. Urias, I think it's a great matchup against the Pirates. Everything that was true about that matchup, over time this season and yesterday was very true again here today. So I can get to some shares of Urias. I can get to Morton, but if they're negatively leveraged, I don't love those options when I've got other pitchers that I can go to that are positively leveraged. So I'm just jumping back up to the top pitchers board here. So yeah, Urias, 7.6% ownership. I think that's fair enough. Like if that's negatively leveraged, I'm fine just kind of rolling with that on the FanDuel slate anyway. I can get over the field on that. 28.3% on the DK slate for Urias at 9,100 though. That might be a spot to undercut. He's negative 15 leverage over there. That's the worst leverage score on the board except for Kevin Gausman. And I believe in the Gausman performance a little bit more than Urias, just given the depth of start, the higher strikeouts and everything about it. So for the price tag on DK and the ownership, I'm looking to get to additional shares of like an Eric Lauer with that money. I'll take some shares of Charlie Morton at 11% ownership. Still negative leverage on Charlie, but only -2, which is a lot more comfy than the Urias number. If I can afford it, I'll get to some Giolito shares with that money, maybe some Montas even going up against Houston there. So I like spreading out, getting away away from the popularity, the negative leverage on the big options there. But I think both Urias and Morton are in play. And then every other one of those options that I just named, Lauer in particular is kind of interesting. Everybody seems to be a little scared of that wind in Wrigley. We just saw last night that it doesn't really come into play every single time, right? We're talking about a very good strikeout pitcher against a club that offers a lot of strikeouts. I think it makes sense to hedge with Cubs bats like we've talked about, or like we're going to talk about, I think. They get a ton of power against lefties, but I like the strikeout upside for Lauer there. So there's a lot to work with, and there's guys beyond that list.
Here's the thing. I did it again. Son of a biscuit. Whatever. This is the dumbest shit ever. I'm just so focused in here. I'm here to give you the goods. All right. Let's talk through this. Yes, Ashby it was a 6-game slate. He was around 15% in the big $15 on DK yesterday. You're looking at that as an extreme ground ball pitcher, a guy who had around a 0-degree launch angle for an average for the season. It was kind of whatever to me. The huge difference for Eric Lauer today is, one, it's a 13-game slate, going to be 12-game now because no Colorado, Miami. But the major concern I have for Eric Lauer is this 18.9-degree average launch angle with the wind blowing out. He's an extreme fly ball pitcher with a 41.9% hard hit percentage. And really, I thought the field would be playing even more Cubs than what they currently are. Let me refresh to kind of double check what I'm looking at, because it seems like they're pretty flat leverage, 5.3% ownership share over on DraftKings. I am more than fine to going way overweight on this kind of a number, just because I do believe that everything stands out for a guy like Eric Lauer to not have nearly as much success as Ashby. Now, can he just flat out miss bats with a 29.4% K percentage and survive? Absolutely he can, but there's enough pop with Contreras. Contreras is plus 210 on the DK book to hit a home run today. I haven't seen something like that since Ohtani last season. Patrick Wisdom, 491 expected slugging. Nico Horner, 478. Morel's been a really good hitter here in the short tenure here as a Cub. I feel really good about this Cubs lineup, and I wish Lauer were getting more attention so that I could play more into that narrative, be stacking up against a chalky pitcher. But you can really only do that with 3 pitchers on today's slate, and none of those options being Pittsburgh, Oakland, or who's the last one I'm thinking of, Chicago White Sox in this current iteration against these 3 chalky pitchers are worth doing it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Cubbies, like I was saying, they're sneaky good against lefties for power. 123 WRC plus for run creation is 5th in baseball. A 3.82% home run rate is 5th, and their 194 ISO against lefties is 6th. So they've been really good, but the strikeout rate is there. 25.3% strikeout rate for a guy who's pushing essentially a 30% strikeout rate this year, 29.4 this year for Lauer. I like that. I'm going to take out shares of both sides. I can definitely get to Cubs bats here. A guy like Ian Happ sitting at 1.6% owned on DK, 0.6% owned on FanDuel for 3,500. Even like a Clint Frazier from late in that lineup I can get to. So I'll have shares of the Cubbies, but I definitely want to get over the field on Lauer. 6.4% owned on DK, 1% owned on FanDuel. It's not like you're damaging yourself just by, if you want to double the field's ownership on the DK slate, and you can go 5-10x of 1% pretty easily on FanDuel. So I have no issues getting to a both sides situation on Lauer and the Cubs there.
Yeah, it's a good point. For me, it was just being so aggressively against what the field was doing with the Cubs earlier and wanting to be way overweight to them. Just seeing the profile of one pitcher compared to the other. And that's what we get in a habit of doing is we're trying to always compare what happened yesterday to today in the landscapes. But like so many things change, weather changes, starting pitchers is the most indicative thing of why you're seeing things change. But yeah, weather obviously across the country has been in flux in terms of it was a lot cooler last week. Now it's starting to warm up again in some spots. And this is just a good hitting environment. And I just kind of firmly believe the fly ball rate is going to get after Eric Lauer in a way that it didn't after Ashby. But I'm with you. I think I do, just with how many Cubs I'm getting in my stacks or how many times I'm stacking them up and playing them as one-offs. I have to be playing a little bit more Eric Lauer than I did. So I'm definitely taking that point. I'm going to put a cap on 10% and just get him.
Would you be over the field on Wilson Contreras on DK as a catcher at 11.5% for 4,900 on that?
Yeah.
Slate?
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's a massive enough slate. If you can't find a way to get different with one specific one-off, it's not like he's 30% in a Coors spot or, Tyrone Taylor was a guy that I thought could get a ton of attention today. coming off of going nuts yesterday. He's around 15.4. That's really the only batter that we're looking at on the entire slate. Buxton, yeah, it's a bummer that he's super popular. I'll have a little bit, but I'm not going to get to 22% of him. It's a large enough slate that I think you can really identify your one-offs. JD Javis is getting a lot of attention simply as a value batting in the middle of a Mets lineup that went off yesterday. And Garlick, of course, was going to be a guy at 2,200 to be getting to as well. But there's really so many ways to get different if you want to have these kind of one-offs. This isn't an Aaron Judge situation where it would be 30% on a FanDuel slate against a bad pitcher. Today, we don't have as much of that concern, but I'm saying we've had a lot of those types of slates where I'm vehemently against that kind of a one-off. Today, I don't think we should be worried about any one-off.
Yeah, and I'll extend that to I'm not really that concerned about the leverage situation or the raw ownership situations, I should say, not the leverage necessarily on really any stack. Like you can go to any team and find low owned hitters to string together in quality lineup positions, put them together with a couple of the higher owned guys. And I'm not really sweating it because it's such a big slate that even the high owned guys are in, the tens, the mid teens. I'm not really that concerned about that. So I think you can get to a lot of different unique combinations of bats and combinations of stacks. So I'm with you on that.
All right. Well, love it. I'm with, I think we're with it together. I don't know what I'm saying. Hit the like button. How about that? Hit the like button is all I want you to do. Jordan Klein's like, did he just have a seizure? I might have had a seizure, but we're back. I promise. I'm still free flowing. Hip hop and hippopotamus. My lyrics are bottomless. Hip hop and not. I was thinking lamb and tuna fish. Damn, he gets all the easy ones. God, Mr. Deeds. That's a deep cut, but still, we're here for it. We're still here for it. Let's work down the board here because I know that there's one pitcher.
That's from Big Daddy, not Mr. Deeds.
Oh, Big Daddy. That's what, sorry. Can you really blame me? He's done 50,000 movies.
True. Fair point. He has.
True. And I was quoting it flat out. So it's not like I haven't seen all of them. Whatever. There's one pitcher that I think I know you're going to talk about here as we work down the board. Is there anybody lower owned that you're getting to in like the 7-8K range here? Or for DraftKings purposes, I think he's 6K. Yeah. So 6,600. Just talk to the people about George Kirby because I know. Yeah,
I was going to say I think that's who you're talking about here. That price is really, really low for this pitcher in this spot against this team in this park. I'm surprised that that's not one of when I saw it, I expected to see one of those 30% value play ownership numbers next to it. On DK, George Kirby 6,600, 10% ownership share. That's just a mistake by the field. This pitcher is a pretty good strikeout option. He's got excellent control and command. I wrote about it on the site today. He is a premium prospect who has a plus fastball and just pounds the zone for strikes. In 4 starts, 20 innings in the show, he's got a 23.5% strikeout rate, a 2.4% walk rate with a 3.12 xFIP. He does have a 4.50 ERA. He's given up a little bit of pop, 47.6% hard hit with a 3.53% home run rate. I expect that will calm down, and we've got the park that is potentially suppressing a lot of power with these new dimensions that everybody was talking about. The guys on the previous show were talking about it. I mentioned it in chat. In addition to moving that wall back, they also raised the height of it. Every inch of height adds another 2 feet of distance. Is basically how the math on that is what I've always heard. So that is a big change to that park. So I kind of believe in the park factors here. That said, the Orioles 146 ISO sits 18th in baseball. A 2.52% home run rate is 21st. They are slightly above average for run creation against righties at 103 for a WRC plus, and their strikeout rate is exactly in the middle of the league at 15th at 21.7%. I like the opportunity for the kid to pitch through a bunch of innings here, pitch cleanly, get to a potential win, quality start, and rack up some strikeouts. I just think the price is too cheap. I'll have plenty of them on FanDuel as well.
Yeah, I love the play. I think George Kirby's a great option today to try to get a little bit different. 10.8% ownership. It's basically flat leverage on DK. On FanDuel, 7K for him. Positive leverage. Yeah, you want to be rostering some of that in your life. All the points you brought up, more than valid. And I do like getting to Baltimore on the other side, but as it stands right now, George Kirby going to be somebody that I'm definitely overweight to double the field on DK as it stands now. Martine Perez is a random guy that I never liked as a pitcher, but my God, hard to neglect what he's done in terms of going the distance. He's just had good FanDuel outing after good FanDuel outing here of late. I think he's got some utility sub 10K as an option to get way different off the field from Christian Javier for 1,000 more, a little bit cheaper than Kevin Gausman. I'm landing on a little bit of him. I was getting to Noah Syndergaard on DK earlier. I'm getting to a little bit less of him. Heard the beginning of the last show, and Alex is like, yeah, just writing him off. I'm like, okay, sounds good. because he had positive leverage. And that was really the one
that.
talking point I had from this morning. But is there any other under-owned pitcher that you're finding yourself rostering a lot more than the field today, like I am with Martine Perez on FanDuel?
I'll probably have oddball shares of pitchers like Adam Wainwright, Jordan Montgomery, maybe some Luis Castillo around the edges. I don't think I'm going to get to any Untitled Marquez. Oh, no, that game's canceled. Never mind. I
don't have to do that.
Any of those bottom end guys. Yeah, if I have any Untitled Marquez, I've made a major mistake. So look out for that. Yeah, Morton and Urias getting popular scratches that from that list. So yeah, it's more about the pitchers we've talked about that are low owned, or the some of the chalk. I really think are the targets here, but I will have some shares of those lesser owned guys just because they project okay for me. This is a fun game, isn't it, Chad?
Son of a biscuit. Why do I do this only on MLB shows? This is the dumbest thing ever. The mute button, the damn freaking mute button, whatever. It's all right. Hey, I have Odd Shopper behind me on my screen.
That you've got to silence it. Hey, well,
look at this. Hey, I did one thing correct today. It's fine.
At least it wasn't like our first day with a new paid sponsor. It was like kind of in-house, the sister site. Like, we're all right with that up at the top, that minor production blip.
This presented to you by Jock Market. No, I probably can't do that.
That would have been a little ugly.
All right. It was fun. I like Jock Market.
It was fun. I like
it was fun. Sites. Yeah, they're great. We love them here at Awesemo.com, especially Odd Shopper is such a utility for everything. Exactly.
Use Odd Shopper and find the best picks to make on Prize Picks and on Jock Market. I mean, come on, it's easy.
Terry McBride, I'll just leave. You're crushing it. Any pitchers that we're looking at shorting a lot more than the field today?
I will most likely be underweight to the top end with those highly owned, negatively leveraged pitchers, where we're talking about like a Gausman at -19, 40% owned. I can be 30%, 35% even, and just shave off a few because you do need those shares to get to an under-owned Lucas Giolito. I feel like we might have short sold Giolito. He's a fantastic pitcher. He's going up against Toronto in Toronto, good hitting park, but I'm not really that concerned about this lineup. Not against Giolito anyway. I think he's got all the stuff necessary to pitch through this team, and he's sitting at 5.1% ownership and 8.1 leverage score as the 4th ranked DK starter. He's just expensive. And he's well worth the money. So I'm good with getting over to Giolito and pulling some of those shares from like a Gausman, like a Javier, like a Montas. I do want all three of those guys, but I'll be underweight to the field just to get some of the shares that I need to spread around.
All right. As I move on with the mute button off, my microphone on, as we move over to talk about stacks, hit the like button. That goes a long way for us. And of course, if you want all the tools and content that we keep referring to, this top pitchers tool, which is phenomenal and helps you make money. Like, I don't know, Terry McBride does every single day on FanDuel.com. Use promo code.
Not enough Orioles yesterday.
Well,
my featured team that we talked about so much, and I didn't get to enough of it. I even said it in chat beforehand. Anyway,
it's the worst when that happens, because even I love St. Louis. We'll talk about it here in 1 minute, and I'm only getting to around 14% now, which is sad, but I'm still 10x the field. That's cool. But use MLB Live as your promo code. That is MLB Live, all one word strung together on that screen. Jordan Klein doing a great job. The best producer in the game named Jordan Klein, and I don't think it's remotely close. The other Jordan Klein isn't very good, but this one is very good. He's got it up on the screen. MLB Live. Get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Do you want to check out the top pitchers tool, the top stacks tool, all of our projections, ownership projections, player projections, day in, day out in the MLB streets, and wait on the NBA streets for the NBA finals, and wait in the NASCAR golf streets, everything you could possibly want, 50% off. So stop guessing, start winning. Join us here at Awesemo Plus today. Guarantee you the water's warm. Come join us. All right. It's not because I peed in the pool. Let's talk stacks. I know. Let's go to stacks here. I don't even think that we could possibly, you and I could start this show today, other than the one common point we had this morning. I saw in your article, you had a lovely picture of a St. Louis Cardinal on the front page. I believe you talked, just go ahead and talk about our favorite contrarian stack of the day, and then we'll get into the usual things.
Yeah. So, we're talking about the offense that for the course of the season has been, this offense against left-handed pitching has been by far the best situation for run creation in the entire league. The Cardinals active roster is at a 143 WRC plus against lefties for the season. The next highest mark for run creation against either hand was the Angels against righties at a 130. That means the Cards are 43% better than average and 13 percentage points better than everybody else against either hand at creating runs when they're facing a left-handed pitcher. That's pretty good. 3.94% home run rate ranks fourth in baseball. Their 17.6% strikeout rate ranks fourth, means that it's going to be very difficult for Blake Snell, even with his strikeout upside, to find Ks against this team. 205 ISO against left-handed pitching sits third in the league. This is an excellent offense against any left-handed pitcher in the game, against a guy who walks hitters at the rate that Blake Snell has for the last 2 years. Snell so far, I mean, this year it's only a 9-inning sample, so we'll forgive a 13% walk rate. But last year, over 128 and 2/3, 30.9% strikeouts, very good. 12.5% walks, very bad. 1.32 whip, too many guys on base. The home run power, he's limited home runs to 2.91% last year, but that was on a 40.9% hard hit, 11% barrels with a 12.5 degree average launch angle. If we're worried about Lauer putting the ball in the air, we should be worried about Blake Snell putting the ball in the air, and he's going to do it with more guys on base. So fire away with Cardinals. They are under owned from top to bottom.
Yeah. Odd Chopper today absolutely loves the under 5.5 strikeouts for Blake Snell. I love the under 5.5 strikeouts for Blake Snell. It's not just that Blake Snell could have some regression kicking in, because again, north of a 30% K percentage, I don't really care through 2 starts. We need more of a sample size there. I care about what I'm looking at with some of the hard hit numbers. I'm looking at just a guy that has not been good since putting on a Padres uniform. And I just think this Cardinals lineup that strikes out at around a 17% rate against a handedness, as well as just murders them routinely, is going to be a problem for him. So I am on board with everything that has to do with the St. Louis Cardinals today. I have only 14% of them now in stacks, but that's a lot when you're considering that this is a massive slate. I might get a tiny bit more. I'm playing a lot of Paul Goldschmidt as a one-off, so that's going to be fun. Tommy Edman in some 2-man games with them on DK and some 5-2s is showing up just kind of organically because I've boosted their projections, and I just feel very bullish here on the Cardinals. So I'm with you, but let's open up the rest of the board to some of the more popular teams. And you've got Minnesota with tons of negative leverage. I knew that was going to happen as the day went on. It's sad, but it did happen. Same with the Mets. You've got some massive pieces of chalk in the middle of that lineup that makes it hard to stack up. The Yankees now garnering a little bit of attention against Noah Syndergaard, and Milwaukee somehow flat leverage out of the middle of nowhere. But who out of these very popular stacks do you still find yourself getting to?
I think for the relatively low ownership for their talent and the relatively efficient ownership in that spot, it's kind of interesting to look at the Yankees. What I don't like about it is that Noah Syndergaard typically just saps power from opposing offenses. He's very good at limiting home runs. I'm not getting great projections on the Yanks. I'm not getting great power marks. I'll have some, but I might be below the field on that Yankees lineup. I do really, really like the spot for the Mets going up against Pat Corbin. I think I'm just kind of with the field around that level of ownership on the Mets. I think I'm getting to a lot of Braves in my stacks here going up against Humberto Castellanos. They're kind of getting overlooked. Only a 7% ownership share. They're our top ranked stack on this entire slate. I like them every bit as much as I like the Mets, the Brewers, the Twins, the Dodgers here. Any single one of those teams I can get to. I think out of all of those that aren't named the Braves up at the top of the board, it's probably the Dodgers that I might be targeting at its efficient ownership, but they're at a 5.8 total ownership score for the stack, where teams like the Twins are at a 13, the Mets are at a 12. So if I'm getting Dodgers at half the ownership of those teams, I don't really care that the leverage is technically negative just based on the salary part of it. The Mariners and Red Sox are interesting in there. There's a lot of different options to go with bats. I probably believe in the Red Sox spot less than I believe in the Mariners, just given the pitching matchup. I think Luis Castillo is a good pitcher.
Say Humberto Castellanos one more time slowly.
Humberto Castellanos.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's the good
Humberto.
stuff. Oh,
I've talked about that guy before.
One more time, just nice and let it roll. I'll
do it the way that the guy used to do it. The poker player who would go all in, Humberto, like that at the poker table in the World Series, and at the poker table at the Taj in Atlantic City at like 2 a.m. with like 11 people in the room, which was kind of wore a little bit thin over time. So yeah, he was interesting.
This is why you're such a hit in Cleveland,
Castellanos.
Baby. This is why you're such a hit in Cleveland. You come in with that accent, the ladies, the bridesmaids just, they start going, Taryn. That's beautiful stuff. But Rinpack in the chat, body bagging Jordan Klein. I'm here for that. I'm here for the sensual talking of Humberto. I'm absolutely here for all of it. You got his work. Daddy is probably proud of him over there, Jordan Klein. That was for Impact, my friend. But either way, let's continue to go through some of these other stacks that we like. I like Atlanta. I'm with you there. 1 through 9. You can play every dude in the lineup. I like teams like that because I can play a little bit more of the ownership game. I can play some of the more popular pitchers. If I want to play Gausman, all I have to do is play. Let me check my notes. What's his name? Michael Harris II. Is that who I'm talking about?
I believe that is the young rookie that they kind of out of nowhere promoted from Double-A. He was their top ranked prospect, but nobody really expected him, maybe late in the season for a cup of coffee. And with guys like Adam Duvall struggling, several guys hurt in this lineup, they were just like, "Hey, kid, come on up." And they were, worried about Acuna with his leg injury at the time. So yeah, he got his shot here, and we'll see what he's got. But he is a premium rated prospect. Nice bat. He's kind of a 5-tool guy, so a little bit of speed in there. Cost a dead minimum on the FanDuel slate. Makes a lot of sense as a wraparound from the bottom there. But like you said, 1 through 9, absolutely top to bottom with this team.
Yep. Top to bottom. That makes it fun. That also makes it fun in other places in life. Use your imagination. But I'm looking at other teams that I want to get
talking
to.
About water slides, everybody.
I'm of course talking about water slides, the best.
Obviously. Where did your mind go, chat?
Yeah, the chat's absurd. I love you guys. We're playing all the hits today. Larry C, Chalez B, everybody.
Good group in there today.
Everybody. Good to see him. Awesome. Our guy, Mike Lawrence behind the scenes. Good people.
No, they can't all be winners.
Yeah. We have an actual producer in chat. We don't have an actual one working for us today, but it's okay.
That's
it's okay. Love you, Jordan. Don't hurt me. I'm just a man standing in front of a boy asking him to love him. Luis Castillo, this Boston lineup, I still have to be rostering some Boston Red Sox today. I don't think I can get away from positive leverage on a team that I don't believe in hot streaks, but I will say if I did, they would be considered hot. How do you feel about Boston?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is just kind of a regression to what we expected, or a return to form, right? Yeah. This is a very good baseball team. So it's not really surprising to see that they were good. They were started out so bad that it looks like, they're suddenly hot. I feel like this is going to be, on and off. This is going to be the version of this team that we get for most of the rest of the season. So I definitely think that you want to get to them in a lot of situations. They're all very low owned. I will give them that. Rafael Devers is the highest owned player on 13% on FanDuel, 10% on DK. Everybody else on both sites is in single digits and low single digits. Like I said, I do, think a little bit less of this matchup just because it's Luis Castillo, who I have a healthy respect for as a pitcher, but only 21.4% strikeouts this year at over 20 2/3 innings. Last year, he was kind of down 23.9% strikeout rate. He's good at limiting power. He's good at limiting run creation in the overall, but they can certainly get to him. So getting to some Red Sox stacks here is totally viable. They're positively leveraged. They're highly ranked. I would definitely include them.
Oh, Jordan, just come over here. Happy will give you a kiss, smooch a smooch. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean that. That's okay. It's okay. We're having fun on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. That's why we have 734 people kicking it with us. If you smash the like button, you have good juju for tonight. Terry McBride won't get first place. He'll probably get second place on FanDuel. He'll take it right now. But you could have a chance at first place on FanDuel. That's probably the right way of putting it. On DK,
I'll sign for that right now.
Come at me.
Give one of our loyal members or listeners out there the win, and I'll take second place. I'll sign for that right now.
Yeah. OMG, LOLs. Yeah. On breakfast is the best. Absolute best. Her in the t-shirt just coming upstairs. Yeah. I just love that lady so much. I hope she's doing well. One of the best one-liners.
Also the Mista lady that he dropped.
Oh yeah. Get me out of here. Here, eat this. Eat this. Let's do other stacks that we're getting to. Anybody on the value end? Is there any cheaper stack, like unowned stack? God forbid you say Detroit. Don't say Detroit.
No, not Detroit.
Thank you.
Like I'm getting very much of them at all.
Now go ahead and talk about anybody else you want to.
Let me jump to the DK stacks board here. I'll look at some of our value ratings and I'll see kind of who I'm getting to. The Brewers were definitely coming up in that matchup against Justin Steele. I don't really consider them a value stack per se, just because they're pretty good against lefties, and they're one of the higher ranked stacks, but they were getting a very nice value grade on our stacks board. So I'll throw them into that mix. I'm certainly not getting any Detroit. I'm getting minor shares of George Kirby, getting a lot of George Kirby, getting minor shares of the Orioles coming back the other way. I do like some of those righty power bats like we talked about yesterday, but I prefer it against the other hand. Let's see. I was getting some Cincinnati Reds going up against Michael Wacha, which I don't really love. I don't think all that much of that offense. They kind of landed in the middle in my crunch here, so I'm curious to see where they come up when I start sorting these lineups. I mentioned the Mariners before, getting to some of them. It's difficult to tell because I thin slice everything so much in Fantasy Cruncher, where I'm just getting like, I'm doing 1,000 lineups, but so I've got 7% 4-mans of St. Louis, 7% 4-mans of Atlanta, the Dodgers, the Yankees, Baltimore, Boston. Like it's a lot of teams just kind of at that same level because I'm looking to have a big spread for what goes into the sort. So I'm about to move it over. I'll be able to answer that question a little bit better in a minute.
All right. Well, I like the Dodgers. I like Edwin Rios. All he does is hit homers. All he does is homer, no matter what. Got money on his mind. That's Edwin Rios. That's my guy. I don't know what to tell you. Keep playing him. What are we doing here? Mookie Betts. Somebody just said, is he the best play of the slate? It would seem like that on a routine basis, wouldn't it? Right now, I have no problem if you wanted to play as much of him as possible. I will say, something tells me we have Acuna at 27.2%. We have Betts at 19.5%. You could flip-flop those two at lock, and I wouldn't be shocked of the outcome. I know there's a $500 difference between them on FanDuel. That's what I was referring to specifically. But just be on the lookout at that because that can be kind of a wonky situation. On DK Acuna, because he's more expensive, I kind of want to get to more of him because he's right around 11.6%. So if I'm going to pay up for a one-off, we'll talk through the positions. But Mookie Betts is sub 10% there. Yeah, 6,300 is just really, really expensive. You're paying the freight, but seems like a guy who has 12 homers in the month of May that you might want to get to. So Dodgers, they are just fine by me. No doubt about it. Any other stack that you're prioritizing that we haven't discussed?
The Dodgers are a great call there. That was one that I neglected to bring up as I was kind of sprinting through those lineups.
They're kind of a given on every slate, though.
It is, or it should be anyway. But this slate, they're not, like I said, I did touch on them when I was breaking down some of those high rank stacks because they're highly ranked, but they're only sitting at a 5.8 ownership projection. They're at half the ownership of what these other high end stacks are. It should be a given. It should be a given again to stack basically anyone against Mitch Keller here. Keller got a ton of buzz coming into spring training, had worked out. He was throwing 157 miles an hour on the average and, dynamite stuff and finally going to deliver on his long-term prospect pedigree. That's going to happen when he no longer pitches for the Pittsburgh Pirates. This dude will be pitching for probably like the Cardinals or somebody like that, or, or the Red Sox, and he'll be dominant and he'll be amazing like we've seen. But right now he is failing to strike anybody out. He's putting way too many guys on base. He gives up power. This Dodgers team is loaded. Mookie Betts, like you were suggesting, a phenomenal home run output this month, broke Jackie Robinson's record for extra base hits in the month of May this month. That's amazing. Mookie's fantastic. So yeah, I'll get tons of him. I'll have a lot of him and Acuna, and the ownership will kind of dictate which one I end up with more, with the lower owned guy being the one I end up with more in like one-offs and everything. But I love both of those hitters. I'll have a bunch of both of those stacks.
Why don't you tell the people what you called Mitch Keller the other day?
Mitch Keller, when we suggested that we got to give him the old Yeller ending and take him out the barn and shoot him. I think that's what we need.
It's so aggressive. It's so aggressive. We're talking baseball. He's just bringing murder into this. I was like, oh, old Yeller, the poor dog. I will say, I think I'm with Lofty where you see humans in like an action movie that go down and it's like, I don't think about it, but you see a dog get kicked and you want to just lash out. Like it's definitely kind of what it is.
I can't even watch those Arms of the Angels commercials for the ASPCA and everything that come on. I got to flip away from those, let alone seeing a family dog die or something like that in a movie. I'm kind of worried about that new Channing Tatum movie Dog, where he's like the military guy escorting the dog across the country. I feel like it's probably not going to have a sad ending, but ultimately
I'm going to have to watch that.
Yeah, it does look good. I heard it's heartwarming.
You know what else is heartwarming? Making money over at Odd Shopper. I don't know if that's a great segue. I don't know if the dog love can really segue into Odd Shopper, but we're going to try our best. We're going to try our best. Here's the thing. Odd Shopper. I was talking about Prize Picks. Terry, I know he does some Prize Picks videos. I know I am doing some Prize Picks videos for the Odd Shopper channel. Go over to the YouTube channel at Odd Shopper, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell, see whenever those videos go live, because right now we have been running a trade. I believe, did you go 3 for 3? Because I went 3 for 3. I think you did yesterday.
I feel like I did.
Yeah.
I didn't go back and check it, but I feel like it did. Walker Buehler got his strikeouts.
Sure did.
I forget what the other ones were.
Mookie Betts hit a homer.
For Mookie Betts. Yep. And whatever that last one was.
Yeah. It was an absolute smash across the board.
And that's why Arena for a run was my other one.
He did. He got that. He scored a run. Or no, he had an RBI. It was one of the two. Because I did tail some of your picks there because I thought it was pretty cool. I also wanted to see how the format was working for everything. And, again, I scratch your back, you scratch. We're not going to say that. That's inappropriate. But Odd Shopper, very appropriate. Best place you can go to get all the odds for baseball, NBA, NHL, and golf. NBA and NHL won't be there for much longer, so go enjoy it while it lasts over on Odd Shopper. But I'm looking at the MLB bets for today. George Kirby over 3.5 strikeouts. That's a joke. How do you have a 3.5 line for George Kirby? That's the second best value we have on the board. And Eugenio Suarez, if you want to stack up Seattle and be one of those little lemmings that does such, go have fun. You can definitely do that. But Charlie Morton, looking at shorting him if you have a plus 124 attached to it. I'm concerned about Prize Picks, so all I care is that stuff gets across the finish line. I did smash the Blake Snell under 5.5 strikeouts. That has moved to 5 now on Prize Picks, so not a bet now at this number. But is there something on the Odd Shopper board in the lovely state of New Jersey where you can sports bet that you are looking forward to playing tonight, Terry?
I would answer that question if I could move my mouse and click to it. But for some reason, despite the buttons working, the cursor is not moving anymore. So I'm going to work on that. I did like the George Kirby, even on Prize Picks, it was at 4.5. And I like that one. I had him projected over 5, as does the site. So I'll back you on that call. But if you wouldn't mind just grabbing the rest of that pick, and I'm going to step around here real quick off camera and unplug the USB and plug it back in to see if I can get my mouse back.
You do that. Yeah, no, it's great.
Second.
Here's the thing, everybody. The meaning of life. Here's what we're going to talk about. The meaning of life is basically to love people, to give them love, to cherish the people that you have in your life, and to make a bigger impact on them than you make on yourself. Because as a result, there will be a feeling that you have that is higher than you could ever attain if you were selfish. So I'm just saying.
We're back.
Okay, and we're back. Hey, look at
how
that.
You
Perfect
didn't break
timing.
into lyrics for the song of that song, Cherish is the word that used to, what is it? Cherish is the word I used to remind me of.
Was that written in 1942? What are we talking about? I've
think that's
never
an
heard
80s
that song. Is it really?
I think so.
That did not sound like any 80s song that I know, but
That's 'cause
I
I was
digress. Here we go. This is what I want for everybody is I want love and I want you guys to all enjoy your time here because it's going to be great. And one of the ways that we do that is we gamble. When you look at sports betting, it's really fun. And I just love Odd Shopper because it gives you great bets in 30 seconds or less. You could have bet at work all day long and you can go to Odd Shopper and you can find some positive EV bets from some of the best, most talented players in the entire world in the DFS industry and now in the sports betting industry. So take advantage. All of the data directly on the page there at Odd Shopper. MLB bets, take advantage. Under of Blake Snell, strikeouts 5.5. Love that. Over 3.5 for George Kirby. Put those two together. And what do you got? Bibbity bobbity boo. Best of luck to you tonight. Thank you so much to Odd Shopper for existing. Love that portion of our company here. All right. We've got, oh, perfect. You all plugged in and ready to go?
Yeah. I don't know what the hell happened. Just unplugging it, plugging it back in. Worked.
We are all degenerates. We're not degenerates. Eric getting drug tested tomorrow because I'm happy, because I'm a happy person. I'm sorry. My bad. Come on now. We're going to be
I got
okay.
sent for a drug test in high school for falling asleep in class. I'm like, motherfucker, if you want me to stay awake, just don't start class at 8 o'clock in the morning. Don't try to teach me algebra 2 at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll be awake.
Yeah. I almost missed a drug test.
But not then.
Yeah. So in college, when you play Division I sports, you get drug tested. I played golf at Iowa State back in the day. And there were a couple times where if you miss your drug test, it counts as a failure. Like it counts as like you're basically screwed. I showed up a minute before my drug test at like a 6:30 a.m. drug test that got administered by the Big 12. And I was sweating bullets. I will tell you that much. It was not because I was doing anything, but it was just flat out. You can't miss that. That rant was awesome. You're welcome, Michael Roundtree. Yeah, that was random as hell, though, Eric. Yes, I get it. Daily affirmations. That's what I'm here for. I had to find something to stall time with, and I knew we had plenty of time to get to the MLB lineups.
He's good enough and smart enough to do it, and doggone it, you people should like him.
Yeah. I love FanDuel today because I can play Freddie Freeman and Edwin Rios together. I just thought I'd point that out, too. That's my random thought that has to do with baseball. But let's get back to it.
So you can play Paul Goldschmidt and Albert Pujols in the same lineup. And Mr. Pujols, we didn't bring it up, but he's been destroying left-handed pitching so far this season, as has Mr. Arenado.
His strikeout rate goes up slightly against the handedness. So that's the one thing against Blake Snell where maybe it happens, but who gives a flying shit for DFS purposes?
Exactly.
Just
I'm
play
taking
Albert
my shots
Pujols.
there anyway.
Yeah. Way cheaper. Definitely a way to get different. I do find it disturbing how much of him I have today. I generally don't ever play him, but I'm seeing the same thing you are where I want to play everybody in this lineup except anybody named Edmund Sosa. I will not be playing him.
Yeah. No real need for Edmundo Sosa, but Pujols I have been going to a little bit this year, particularly against lefties, and it's like I said, it's worked out. His specific stats are in my article on the site if anybody wants to see them, as is the whole breakdown for the cards.
Rid Pack, one of my best friends took Le'Veon Bell's drug test at MSU. That is the funniest thing I've ever heard. Also, props to Le'Veon Bell. Do you know how hard it is with somebody looking over you when you're pissing in college to be able to cheat a drug test? It's very hard. You have to be very committed to the craft.
Yeah, I would expect that's true anywhere. And probably college is probably one of the easier spots to get away from with it.
It depends.
Like versus like prison.
Well, okay, there you go. Yeah, probably in prison.
Like, do you want just some secretary from the Big 12 or whatever it was, like watching you pee, or do you want like Gundacker in his like full prison guard mode watching you pee? I don't think I'd even be able to go in the latter situation, to be quite honest.
Why is Gundacker in prison?
He was a prison guard.
Oh, he was? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What? Jordan Klein is as shocked as I am. I'm not the only
something
person
like that. Corrections.
What?
Yeah. He's huge too. He's like 6'6", like 475 pounds. Like he's gigantic. He just looks small because
I never thought he was small. I've always thought he was nobody's ever thought
I had him at like Gimli height.
Oh no,
that he was like 6'6".
That was a Lord of the Rings reference, by the way. You can get down with your bad self, Terry McBride. It's just fine. Jordan Klein and I definitely bond over the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter life.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Lord of the Rings watching, but we will partake in some sandwiches. According to How I Met Your Mother, that's how they do it. Sandwiches.
I like it. Oh,
that's what we must do.
Yes, those sandwiches.
I had no idea. Oh God, I can't wait to have Gundacker. I can't wait to have Gundacker on and talk through all the ins and outs of that next show. I think I'm on with him Thursday. Looking forward to that one a lot more now.
I really hope that he was just messing with me and then I'm totally wrong. That'll make this bit a lot more funny.
It's already no, it's not even that it's funny. It's amazing. Like Gundacker as a prison guard is one of my favorite things I've ever imagined ever. He would be incredible. All right. Corrections officer. All right. I will definitely have to hit him up about that. That's going to be awesome. But here we go. Position by position. I'll talk through DK because I know that those are my streets. FanDuel, those are your streets. So That's how we're going to do this thing. You ready? Well, let's go. Catcher. I am getting to Will Smith. Mitch Garver coming in surprisingly second for me. And Wilson Contreras. Those are my three big stands. Who are your stands at the catcher / first base position, Terry, on FanDuel?
I am in no way equipped to talk about it like this, so I'm just going to go with my crunch here, and I'll tell you guys who comes up the most in my
that's
crunch.
What we were looking for, because people are looking for the one-off.
If you're out there starting a baseball show, position by position, not really the best way to talk about baseball.
I know, but it's what I'm supposed to do.
Is coming up as one of my most highly owned catchers on the FanDuel slate, where you do not need catchers. I don't expect to have much of them. I will definitely have a good amount of Will Smith. I've talked about it a lot. I like getting to these premium catcher bats on the FanDuel slate where you don't need the position because people tend to forgo guys like Will Smith. He's a terrific bat. He can be in my lineup any given day. Adley Rutschman is supposed to be that kind of a bat. We'll find out. I had a nice little home run mark on Keibert Ruiz, the catcher from the Nats, so I'm getting to some shares of him in my Nats stacks. All of this will be within the context of all of my stacks are where I'm getting my catchers and my first baseman from.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So we can kind of avoid, if you don't want to do this, I don't want to really do it either. It doesn't need to happen.
It's a good way to recap the top stacks. We can definitely do it. It's not.
The one thing I will say is that Neil Orfield, should I be playing this guy, Ronnie Garcia, at 4K on DK? I know this must be a pitcher who's 4K, and we have to be talking about 4K pitchers pretty much all the time. I will say Ronnie Garcia starting to pop up on DraftKings.com. We've got him projected for 15.2 up against Minnesota here. Talk to me about Ronnie Garcia now, the starter for Detroit.
Okay, hadn't really considered rostering much of him. I always
he pitched. Where he pitched in the first game, right? Yeah, we don't need to have him. 0. Don't play him.
It's Joey Wentz, right?
Yep, exactly. So don't play him. Okay. I'm just
That
answering
game's
Neil
not on the
Orfield's
FanDuel
question.
slate?
And he has a blue
that
wrench.
game's not on FanDuel, so it was kind of off my radar, but I didn't think that was the pitcher.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. And I'm going to dodge Neil Orfield's questions. Wrong, sir. You are wrong, but you're still loved. Shout out Minnesota. Go Twins.
Yeah, I'm getting to much more Minnesota than I am to anything from Detroit. I'm not getting to any of either of the pitchers in that game, or would be.
Yep. All right. Well, we're back. First base for me. I think we talked about St. Louis. Let's go. Freddie Freeman, Edwin Rios. You should all know this about me by now. I will always have them. That's how I play baseball. I love those guys. But talk to me about second base.
About second base? Well, at first base, I've got some Pete Alonso mixed in. I've got some Matty Olson in my stacks, some Freddie Freeman, some Edwin Rios, and Paul Goldschmidt, obviously from the Cards. At second base, I'm getting a fair amount of Brendan Donovan. Tommy Edman has multi-position, so I've got him second base and in the outfield. Actually, not as much Edman as I'd like there. I'm going to have to give him a nudge so that most of those shares go in when I do this sort. I'm getting to some minor shares of like Gleyber Torres, Cesar Hernandez as part of stacks, a little bit of Jose Altuve wherever I'm getting to Astros, some Trevor Story where I'm getting to Red Sox.
All right, let me finish up my, there it is. I think I got it. Do I got it? Hold the line. Yeah, there we go. Just getting on my 20 max stuff set up here too for the $4, $15. Here we go. We're back to second base for me. We're going to have Christopher Morel, Tommy Edman. Those are my boys. Let's go. One-time dealer, one-time. And Edman Sosa is showing up now again. Why I took him out of the pool. Why is this happening to me? Whatever. Talk to me about third base on your side, on the blue side.
Yeah, we're kind of going right down the line with stacks on that one. Nolan Arenado, top of the board, getting plenty of Rafael Devers where I'm getting to Red Sox. Probably also getting some Devers as a one-off. Not sure how much I love that. He's 14% owned, but highly projected for me. Works out nicely in my model for a home run. Edwin Rios has third base eligibility on the FanDuel slate, so I'm getting him there. Getting some shares of Manny Machado. I expect probably mostly as a one-off. I don't think I'm getting a lot of Padres stacks. And then some Brandon Drury, some Austin Riley. Third base is a position I like. There's a lot of talent at third base. Some Alex Bregman, I would throw him into the mix. If you're going to Cubs, I wouldn't leave Patrick Wisdom out of your stacks. If you're going to Brewers, I wouldn't leave Mike Brasso out. There's a lot to like at third base.
I would agree with that. I would agree with it. We head over to the shortstop position. Nico Horner, Tommy Edman, where he's second base and shortstop eligible. Trey Turner. Those are my dudes. And Dansby Swanson, talked about him earlier today. I like him a lot as a one-off as well from the Atlanta side. I think if I'm not going to be stacking him up, which we should be stacking up Atlanta a lot today, I think Dansby Swanson higher in the order there, sub 10%. Give me all of that. You got Acuna, much more popular. Talk to me about shortstop for you, Terry.
Yeah, shortstop will definitely be some Trey Turner there. Brendan Donovan's got that eligibility on the FanDuel slate, which is nice and helpful in stacking Cardinals. I've got a decent amount of him there. Some Francisco Lindor, wherever I'm getting to Met stacks. Trevor Story, again, shortstop eligibility, second base eligibility. Where I don't have him at shortstop, I've got a lot of Xander Bogaerts at shortstop and Red Sox stacks. A lot of the chalky stars, and I don't know how popular necessarily Corey Seager is as an individual, but I've got a fair amount of him mixed in here. Jeremy Pena, where I'm getting to Astros. So again, just kind of going along with the shortstops from some of the premium stacks, but a lot of bats worth getting to in there.
All right. And on a 13 game slate, there are 498 potential outfielders that are viable. It feels like that might be a slight exaggeration, but that's what it feels like. Who from the outfield are you landing on the most?
So we've got some familiar names up top with Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani are all coming up quite a bit. Aaron Judge is mixed in there, Mike Trout. A lot of those guys just mix and match through one-offs in the Fantasy Cruncher Crunch here, and they'll get sorted down to thinner slices than that in favor of some of the bats from some of the premium stacks that I'm chasing. Like I'm getting to a fair amount of Juan Yepes in there. He's got outfield eligibility. Some Jesse Winker and Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners lineup there. Some Nick Senzel, who's hitting third for the Reds today. Some Tyler Naquin in that lineup. A little bit of Mookie for sure. Cedric Mullins, a little bit of George Springer. Again, just weaving in and out of the stacks, and the sorting tool is going to take care of getting those guys into the right order as far as the ownership allocations. No one of those hitters is owned more than 15%. No one of those hitters is owned less than 8% out of the guys that I read off.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff. For me at the outfield, Buxton is always going to be good, but I got to be trying to be a little bit lighter on him today. I'm looking at Harrison Bader, Juan Yepes. Those are the two guys I really want to have go nuts, young men, and Mookie Betts, of course, because it's a day ending in Y, and Mookie Betts is a good play as a result. Even if he's 6,300, crazy one-off potential. So let's do that. Guys, this was a lot of fun. We've got, 7 minutes left to go. I have a super chat. Gabriel Mefrin, here you go. $5. Thank you so much for the super chat for Terry and I. We appreciate it. T-Mac. Who is your value play of the day? Sub 2.5K on FanDuel. He was bringing up Renifo at 2.2K. What do you think? He's batting fifth in the Angels order. I don't really like him, but sub 2.5K. We do have options. Who are your favorites?
I'm not the biggest Renifo fan in the world. The best way for me to probably answer this is to jump over to the home run model, and we can just try and sort real quick for some of those prices on the FanDuel slate. Bear with me. Have a second. Just got to click 3 boxes. Come on.
I forgive you.
And our top ranked guy in the home run model at that price is $2,300 second baseman Rougned Odor from the Baltimore Orioles. I think I prefer Eduardo Escobar from the Mets though for 2,400, 100 more, slightly lower home run rating, similar projection for me. And just, I think in a better situation, better lineup from a team that I expect to go off. If you wanted to go like JD Davis from that lineup, he's a little bit more popular than Escobar. Nick Senzel, Adam Duvall, interesting lineup options in there. Maybe some Mike Brasso, total wild card play, Mike Zunino anytime.
Mike Zunino, literally anytime, because you know what? I don't want to get shorted at the plate, and you do not get shorted when Mike Zunino is up there swinging for the fences. Those are, in the words of Eric Lindquist, good times. We've got 5-6 minutes left to go here. You have all your lineups in. Anything else that people need to know here before we start getting out of here?
I'm trying to work on getting the massive share of Toronto lineups that I'm getting in my sort here down. They're coming up like crazy for me.
Yeah, they were a problem on FanDuel.
Yeah. So I wasn't expecting that. With 5 minutes to go, I'm going to be working on that. I got to grab some lineups off the top to pop into the lineups that actually go into FanDuel here, but I'm a little bit under the gun at this point, but I do wish everybody luck out there. I would say my tip of the day, or what I'm doing today, if you want to follow me in my misguided adventures, I'm spreading out some of the pitching from those premium pitchers up at the top that are really highly owned, negatively leveraged, and I'm getting to just a ton of Cardinals bats as much as I can. That's my contrarian move of the day.
Yep, I have now 40% Nolan Arenado on DraftKings.com, my highest stand I can remember on a batter in many, many moons. So here we go. One-time
he's got
dealer.
A 600 something or 700 something slugging percentage against lefties this year. Just
is that good?
Outrageously good against lefties this season.
Seems okay to me. We have Goldschmidt and Pujols that are kind of pulling away from each other a little bit, and that's why, hi, Nolan Arenado, please do something. Him and Tommy Edman and Juan Yepez, if they do terrible. Yes, Terry's tip. Everybody wants to see Terry's tip, just like in Cleveland. Terry's tip. That was what it was. No, actually, it wasn't, because you were being a good human being in Cleveland. You were getting turned up. That's how it is. Jordan, are we going all the way? New York, maybe not so much. Are we going all the way till 05, or are we done? I don't even know. Oh, we got 4 minutes. Awesome. I'm going to let Terry. Oh, you moved me all the way to the bottom. Why is my head gone on the screen? Why'd you do that?
I hadn't seen that. That's good look. I like it.
I'm gonna come back here. Yeah. I'm ready.
You just need a background that you kind of fade into and out of at times.
Here's the thing, boys. He's going to go yard. The thing is, he is going to hit the baseballs hard. What's a gun tacker joke? Chip in a chair. I just got to get a chip in a chair. Got to get exposure to the top end of the bar. Pre-flop. If I'm looking at the nuts, I have the stone colds coming in like the arm bar. Duh.
You got the hook with it. He's got that enunciation at the front part of a lot of words. You got the hook on the gun impression.
Let's see if I can finish the show like this. I'm just sliding further into the abyss with 3 minutes left to go.
We could just run Forrest Gump lines for the next 3 minutes if you want.
I'm not a smart man, Jenny, but I know what love is.
That's a good one.
I got a lot. I got a lot of Forrest Gump.
Black Panther party.
Yeah, it's run that way. All right, I will. Devers 2 bombs. Oh, we got to do home run calls. We have 3 minutes. We got to do home run calls. So let's finish out the show with some home runs. We need some bombs, and we can't pick Cardinals because you and I are kind of obsessed today. That feels like cheating. I know you're finishing up everything, but if you can just tell me a home run call off the top of your head, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I went actually a little bit off the board, I think. He might be drawing some popularity. I haven't looked at it. Kyle Garlick was my call in the article today, so I'll stick with that one. I was thinking the same thing, kind of get away from the cards that I had just written 1,000 and change words about, so I went with Garlick.
I love Kyle Garlick. I love garlic in general. It's delicious, so we should probably roster him.
According to an Italian cook that I once cooked with when I was a cook, he said that garlic was first introduced to the Italians by the French because the French thought it was a poison and they wanted to kill the Italians. I don't know if that's true. Probably.
And instead what they did is they made sure that if they ever made out with him, it was atrocious. That was a garlic eating food joke. You have to think about that one. I'm just here on the basement floor, not really sure what to do other than just keep talking. Edwin Rios, he's my call. He's been my call every single day. Edwin Rios is going to hit a home run, so that's cool. We're going to roster a lot of him. Ryan Jeffersdong, wouldn't that be something, Baldy and the Oaf? It would really be something. I would like to see some positive regression for the young man for our Minnesota Twins. That would be great. But guys, this has been a lot of fun. We got 1 minute left to go. I'm making sure Terry can get everything updated on his end. So I'm basically just stalling for time, but I think this Gundacker impression kind of went well. Contreras and Bichette dogs. Gee, way to go with Contreras. Good.
You see
that was important.
Vein pulsating on my neck.
Was it good for you too?
When you're down to under a minute and the heart starts beating a little bit on getting those lineups in.
Yep. Eric, you kind of sounded like Bill Walton. My Gundacker did kind of go into the sea of the stars, the Bill Walton, a little bit of that. It definitely had a little of that characteristic, but everybody needs to smash the like button as we get out of here. Per usual, just doing my best to bring you some joy, entertainment, and most importantly, help you make money. Terry McBride, I know, did that over there. Terry, my friend, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
Good luck out there, everybody. It's been a blast of a show. We appreciate everybody hanging out. Hit the like, the subscribe, all that fun stuff that helps us out. And I hope whoever it is that beats me when I finish second and they finish first enjoys it tonight.
All right. Thanks so much to Jordan Klein. Thank you so much to Odd Chopper. Don't forget to head over to oddchopper.com here. He's Terry. He's awesome. I'm Eric here.